All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Xbox 2 podcast on a Saturday. And it's not my fault. I'm not to blame for this. I'm Randall Thor 19, man with the million. And with me is Jez Corden, Windows Central, managing editor, and also the reason we're doing the show on Saturday.
Yep.
This week.
I'm sorry about that. Sorry for the inconvenience, but we got there in the end. And we're here on a Friday, and at least here on a Saturday. Sorry, misspeaking, mixing up my words like a certain famous politician. But we've got a at least now I'm not half dead and half asleep doing the show. So slept up, and it'll be a better show today than it would have been yesterday. So. Had a lot on yesterday, being back in the UK, a lot of people visiting, family, friends, and stuff like that. So,
yeah,
I was a bit off more than I could chew. So, but now we've slept up and we're all good, and we're gonna have a good show.
Yes, and there's interesting things to talk about. So it should be a very fun show, and it's going to be a long day for me because I had agreed to do Xbox Era with Jesse and Nick, and their show starts kind of when our show is maybe like ending, or when we start doing Patreon questions. So I'm going to be joining that show in progress. So it's going to be a long podcasting day for me, but I am up to it. I normally don't do like stuff like this, but I was getting the show ready yesterday, literally about ready to press the button to make it all kind of appear on YouTube, and Jez is like, "I got family over, I can't do anything," and I'm like, "Okay." So
My bad.
I know.
Happens.
With that said, welcome everybody to episode 324, I think. On this beautiful June,
Sounds right.
not June anymore. Beautiful July 13th. Beautiful, but extremely hot. It is a scorching one out there. Humidity is extremely high. So hopefully everybody is doing, staying indoors with their air conditioning. Because, I would not want to be out there in that sweltering heat. It's supposed to be like this for the next couple days, too. Like mid-90s. Whew. Man, you step outside for just a few seconds, and you're like, oh, man, this is too hot. I don't want to do anything, But it is what it is.
It's funny because we have the opposite here. It's like... It's cold. It's
cold.
Irregularly cold. Yeah,
it's cold, huh?
Yeah. So like in Eastern Europe, it's like they're having the heat wave that you're having right now, but in the UK, it's like pretty chilly actually. It's at this time of night, like in the 50s, which is really it's. I know there's this whole meme that it's cold and raining in Britain all the time, but it's not normal for it to be this cold. This much during this time of year, so yeah, temperature anomalies for everyone. But I'd rather it be a little bit chilly than squelching hot like what you're dealing with, personally.
So we there's a lot of drama this week. A whole lot of drama in regards to
a little bit of drama.
Xbox Game Pass changes, price increases, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So, we're going to be talking about it all. So if you guys, when you come in here, if you're already here, we welcome you. Make sure you hit the like button, please, and let everybody know that we are live on this Saturday. I got to apologize to Gaz because this is like the last, not this past week, but the week before. I think we did a Saturday show too. Gaz was not too pleased with us, so I have to send Gaz like a fruit basket or something, being like, "Please forgive me. Don't be angry with us." So hit the like button. Please subscribe. Let everybody know we're live, and we'll be getting into some housekeeping. And this episode, Jez, is brought to you by the wonderful folks at Manscaped. Yeah,
that is correct, Mondo Rand, because. Rand, it is once again smooth sack summer. The world of Manscaped.
Who doesn't love smooth sack summer?
When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're groomed, even in places where the sun don't shine.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to our friends over at Manscaped, you can make this season your smoothest yet. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer and get 20% off and free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use code XB2. That's XB and the number 2. Summertime and the trimming is easy. That's what that means. The Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra has everything you need to prepare for that summer bod. Every man knows how scary it can get when going for a close shave below the belt. That's why I trust Manscaped for all my sensitive areas. Inside this package, you'll find the star of the show, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. That's Ultra, Rand. Ultra means it's better. It's even better. The 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads. A standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. Now that you have the perfect trim, use Manscaped's liquid formulations to keep that freshness, even at the hottest summer barbecues. The Crop Smoother Aftershave Lotion and the Crop Preserver Anti-Chafe Ball Deodorant, which, by the way, is actually pretty amazing.
Yeah, you don't want to be chafing in the hot summer sun and
No.
no. What was it? What does Manscaped call this summer? Clean balls.
Smooth
sack summer. You need that
smooth sack.
You need all that.
You need all that. Crop preserver, and once they touch your sack, you'll never go back. Oh man, I have to say the crop preserver is pretty good. It's pretty cool. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code XB2 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code XB2 at manscaped.com. Being maidenless is no excuse for tarnished balls.
Ugh.
That's for the Elden Ring sign.
Yes, a little Elden Ring humor there. Did everybody catch that? Jez is a fan of Elden Ring. Oh my god.
What do you mean? Yeah, I've always been, bro. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. He actually finished the game. Let's round of applause for Jez Corden for finishing Elden Ring, everybody.
Yes. I did, but you know what I found out yesterday?
Round of applause. I am so proud of you, buddy.
Yeah,
proud of you.
Thank you, Rand. Thank you. But do you know what I found out yesterday?
What?
There's an entire area that I didn't know existed.
Oh my god!
And I've missed. I've missed a bunch
Did you not
of
go
bosses.
like down underneath the?
Yes.
You missed that whole underground area with its own.
Not the whole underground, but there's one specific area that I missed. Oh man, what was it called now? I can't remember exactly off the top of my head what it was called. But it was like there's a dragon there. It's where you finish Fia's quest line.
Okay.
So it was like a whole area there that I've missed, and I suppose I need to go back and I'll check that out. I suppose. There's a dragon boss that I missed there, but I did the vast majority of the game though. I've done
That's good.
Yeah, I've done all the optional bosses.
We are so very proud of you, Jess. We are so very proud.
Well, thank you very very much, Rand. I am proud of myself, and my family's proud of me, and I got letters from people saying, congrats.
Letters?
You did again. Yeah, I did.
Like in the post, in the mail.
Yeah,
you got letters.
Yeah.
People were.
I got a letter from the new prime minister.
Oh.
It was like, "Oh, congrats! You actually finished the game." and Joe Biden sent me a message. He got my name wrong, but
Oh well, I mean, to be fair, he thought you were the other James Corden, right?
Oh man, but hey, finished the game. But yeah, Elden Ring was an amazing experience, cover to cover. What just pure greatness. And I said to myself, I'm going to take a little break before I jump into Shadow of the Erd Tree, but that break lasted about 5 minutes because I jumped pretty much straight into Shadow of the Erd Tree, and now,
of course.
Yeah, and it's a whole thing. So now we're going through Shadow of the Erd Tree, which is similarly incredible and brutally difficult. Like all the regular monsters take off like a third of your health, even if you've got like 60 vigor. and it's very very tough. So gotta get those shadow tree fragments and stuff. But yeah, it's looking pretty amazing so far. But there's a bunch of other games I want to play that I haven't got around to yet.
Have you
I want to play.
have you played First Descendant? I had that hit 10 million players in a week.
Yeah, I have not played First Descendant yet, but I've heard good things. Well, I say I've heard good things. I've heard mixed things. Like some people like they hate how free to play ish it is, and by that I mean eventually you just kind of hit a wall where it's like, okay, now you've got to give us money if you want to progress, kind of thing. And that's one of the reasons why I never really got into some games like, I don't know, like Warframe and stuff, because they get you in, the combat's good, and it's like, hey, this seems pretty cool and stuff. But then it's not long after that initial sort of I don't know, that initial burst of gameplay where suddenly you start getting slapped in the face with, okay, now give us money, now give us money, now give us money.
Right.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the business model. And if that's the kind of game you enjoy, and, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of times you can sort of grind past some of that stuff. You know, if you're willing to grind, you can avoid like ever spending money in games like Diablo Immortal or Genshin Impact and stuff like that. But it's just not for me. You know, it's just not for me, kind of thing. So I've just kind of avoided it on that basis. But I don't know. Maybe some people in chat feel differently about the game. Maybe I'm sort of, you know, not giving it a fair shake and stuff like that. But some people have criticized it on that basis. But another bunch of people have also already. Another bunch of people have just sort of said, "Oh, it's not so bad. You know, you don't have to spend any money and that kind of thing." You know, so I don't know. Other people have been playing it. A bunch of people in my team have been playing it and enjoying it, to some degree at least. I think. So.
Well, I wonder if any of our wonderful patrons are enjoying the game, because we also got to give them their shout out for their support of the Xbox 2. So we have Inner Machine, Straight Allure, Xbox Dave, Jay Peltier, Thurgus, Christian the Password, Holy Dark Death, Steve Stompy, James Wiseau, Trickster for Trey, Battered Haddock, Army Dude 52C, Ryan Kipple, Foreign Object, Mythic Marty, Moronic Donkey 99, Randall Thor 19, Silas, Eric Gregory, James Moore, Fantasticals, K-Trax, Bright Tundra 1, Discarded Caboose, Justin Duel, Frank Mariano, Pee Wee Bro King, Asa T, and Madison, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Achievement, The Scarecrow 121, Darren Tropey, Prof JJJ, Ghostface Killa, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thank you for your continued support. Hopefully we'll be having an Xbox 2+1 on Tuesday. So you know, obviously keep a lookout for your Patreon emails and stuff. When we do announce that, and if we can get the guest for Tuesday. Question and answer thread is up on Patreon right now, so if you want to go over there and drop a question in there, we'll get to that at the end of the show. And if you want to join the Patreon, you can always do so at, you know, patreon.com/XB2. I see Mr. Infinite Umbra, my Chicago brother, in the chat. What's going on? How you doing, Umbra? Is it hot where you're at? Because it's definitely hot over here. Kay Asante is up in chat as well. Love everybody, you know, who shows up for these shows. Nine Lives, Ashes to Ashes, Piggy Master, CJ Worm. Appreciate everybody being here. We do have a lot to talk about. But briefly, because I haven't finished the game yet, Jez, I am finally playing Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. What is it, 2024? And Cyberpunk came out at the end of 2020. And so I'm about roughly 20 hours in, give or take. I'm in like Act 2. And man, there's so many side quests available now. Like, I just look at the map and it's just like gold exclamation points everywhere and all these gigs, and it's like, oh, but the main story. So my initial impressions of the game, and I know it's like, 20 hours in, it's like initial impressions, but I'm really curious how Cyberpunk was in the before times. Because when I'm playing, it's fucking amazing. I get a sense of like immersive sim in a lot of, because the way obviously I play a lot of my games is I do a lot of the side stuff. So in the first area, I did a lot of the gigs, a lot of the cyber psycho sightings. Okay, Santi wants to know just the base game or the DLC. No, I'm playing the main game for the very first time, bro. I held off on it, and I said I would play it this year, and there isn't really anything I wanted to play until like Star Wars Outlaws, and I wasn't in the mood to play Elden Ring again. So I decided, you know, it's time to play some Cyberpunk. And the level of freedom it gives you and how you want to approach obstacles and scenarios about, hey, you know what? I'm going to basically use my cyberware and burn people out, or stealthily approach a segment by distracting enemies or turning off the cameras and then stealth killing them, or just going in there with the katana and chopping heads, or perhaps using a what is it? One of those smart link submachine guns where you're just shooting bullets behind cover, or arcing it and stuff. Dude, dare I say that I think I love this game? Dare I say this? And
I knew you would.
There's a part of me that's like, what was the game like when it originally came out? Because what I'm playing here, from the gameplay and how incredibly cool it is, and the aesthetic of the city itself, not to mention like the story stuff and, you know, the dialogue, like I'm sitting there and I'm invested. Like I'm V, and I did start over. I did choose, originally when I started playing, I picked male V and I did Street Kid. But I was like, you know what? I'm not really sure if I dig the vibes given off by male V, so I started over as a nomad and picked female V. And I'm glad I did, because I think she's the better voice actor. I think she nails the more emotional parts better than the male counterpart, which is one of the reasons I think I liked Odyssey so much, is because I picked Cassandra when Alexios was just a drag, right? So, yeah, and dude, I'm so in, when I'm in this, like hours will pass by without even me noticing it. Like I'll look at the clock and it's 9:30, and I'll do a couple main missions and some side quests, and I look and it's like 11. I'm like, where'd the time go? What the hell? And I'm like screwing around with the different perks, and I'm like, oh, well, in this one, I'm going to try to stealth through this area and not notice thing. Or this one, I'm going in guns blazing and picking my stations as I'm cruising through the city and stuff. Bro, it is so... And I feel like I barely even scratched the surface, because I haven't really even gotten to, like, how to build my character yet, because I don't have enough skill points. I don't, essentially, because you got all the different trees. So there's a part of me that's like, what was like so bad about the game when it first launched?
You know, I'm going to say something controversial.
Okay.
And I'm sure this will be controversial with some people, but not a lot. I mean, the issue with the issue with it was that it was just really, really buggy as hell on console.
Okay.
When I played it on PC, it was not that buggy, but one of the things that they did do was rebalance some of the underused abilities in the game. So like, where I played the game sort of like in an almost optimal kind of way, where I did the Netrunner build, and I said that in my review. I did Netrunner build, which I think like is probably the playstyle that had the least amount of changes when they were doing updates and stuff. So, but some of the other stuff, like the stealth ninja fantasy, or some of the stuff they promised, like originally they talked about wall running, which never made it into the game, and also the metro system, which was not there for launch, and stuff like that. So there was a lot of broken promises, so people were upset about that. And also the way the game was marketed, I think kind of give people the impression it was going to be more Grand Theft Auto-esque, but the story delivery hasn't really changed at all. It's just more polished and all that kind of stuff. And and I think the core experience was always there. The core experience was always there. it just wasn't at that CD Projekt Red level that everyone wanted it and expected, and ultimately deserved it to be. So now it's there. It's everything that you could ever have wanted and hoped for from the game is there and present, and a lot of the builds that weren't very good are now balanced and viable, and the performance on console is night and day. Console and performance is genuinely night and day. But that's about it. You know, the story delivery that you're experiencing right now is pretty much what I experienced when I played it on PC for the first time, and I loved it then. I had an absolute blast, and I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it's just I feel like I have a lot ahead of me, like because I'm 20 hours in, I'm in Act 2. They just like there's all these side quests all over the map. I feel like it's one of those games where my OCD when it comes to clearing maps before moving on with the main story might be detrimental, because I'll probably do all those things and then get back to the main story. And I know these always happen in open world games. At some point, I love it and I want to do everything, but when you reach a point in time where you're just like, oh, I sort of want it to be over, and I don't want it to be over. So I'm going to be very cautious about how I don't want to play it like I normally play open world games. I don't want to like do, well, for the next 20 hours I'm only going to do side quest and to get back to the main quest or whatever. So and then I'm thinking about what builds to use, because I've seen people post some crazy builds on Twitter. Like I was talking to Slow Mo and he sent me a build of him using these like mono wires, and he was just basically in slow-mo the entire time, just killing everybody with these mono wires and stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah,
God, that looks so cool.
I haven't played around with the different builds as much. I sort of like, I just love being a netrunner in that game. I love like the whole sort of fantasy of hacking people's cyberware and stuff like that. And it's so rewarding when you successfully infiltrate. It's the stealth gameplay, right? It's so rewarding when you successfully infiltrate an area in that game without, alerting anyone, alerting any guards, and all that kind of stuff. And the Netrunner gameplay is sort of conducive to that, because like you can hack the cameras, you can highlight enemies using the hacked cameras. You can turn turrets against the enemy and all that kind of stuff. But if you do go down that route, you kind of sacrifice having things like slow-mo in combat,
Right.
because you have to choose what cyber deck you're using at the end of the day. If you are opting for a sort of hack heavy stuff, you're kind of sacrificing your athleticism and stuff like that, right? But the Sandevistan, which is, I probably pronounced that wrong, but that's the thing that lets you do slow-mo. That has received a ton of upgrades in subsequent patches, which kind of enables some of those crazy builds that you see. That is the one thing that's really changed, is the build variety that you can sort of put together. A lot of those sort of lesser used items and objects, they've received a lot of tweaks and buffs, and also improved synergy with the gear you can get in the game. The itemization is better, and also the whole transmog system. Oh, that's probably the biggest thing that changed for me, was that they added basically like you can separate stats from the way your character looks with the armor. Because my God, in the base game when it first came out, and this was the worst thing about the game for me, your character would just look like a clown the whole time, because you just would not. None of your gear would match, and you just have multicolored, all different everything. Everything would just look completely different, and but you could either do that or sacrifice having viable stats and stuff. So that's kind of like some of the main tweaks for me in the game. But yeah, it's a absolutely fantastic game, and the DLC is also absolutely fantastic. I'm really glad you're playing it, bro.
Yeah, I got a lot to play. Keasante is saying that the DLC is even better than the main game. He says the DLC is way better than the main story.
I don't know if I agree with that. But
Ooh,
I suppose it depends what route you take. I think
mm,
depends what route you take. I know a lot of people. I won't say much because it's potentially spoilers for you, right? But some people didn't like some of the direction some of the storyline can take in the base game. I think the DLC probably does give you a little bit more control than the base game does when it comes to outcomes, but that's all I say.
okay.
Maybe.
So yeah, I feel like the next few weeks for me is basically locked in. What I'm gonna be doing and pretty much playing Cyberpunk. So maybe I'll take a break here or there to play something shorter, maybe like a Flintlock when it comes out next week or whatever. But as long as I can have this finished, I mean, I think like the next game I really am looking forward to is Star Wars Outlaws, and the next month. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
my plan is to have Cyberpunk finished by then, and I should have Cyberpunk, and I mean Cyberpunk and the DLC finished by the end of August. That's at least my current plan. We'll see. We'll see.
You playing anything else?
What? I'm just playing Cyber. You know, I only play one game at a time. I don't play multiple games at a time. I'm not like you, Jez.
You're not about that life.
No, I've never been about that life. I read one book at a time. I watch one TV show at a time. I play one game at a time. I don't begrudge anybody that can, do multiple things like that. Like they're playing multiple games. I can't do that. And I know that's probably pretty weird. Anybody in chat have that same problem as me? I like to focus on a single thing at a time. I know there's people out there that can read 4 books at once. I don't know how they do it. I don't.
That would fry my brain.
Or they're watching multiple TV shows at a time. I mean, I guess I can understand if you're playing a game and like here's your multiplayer game and you're playing First Descendant, but you're also going through the single player game because that was me for a bit with PUBG. But even at the time when I was super into PUBG, all I wanted to do was just play PUBG. So I know I'm very weird when it comes to how I consume my stuff. I'm very much like, let me get this out of the way before I move to something else. So
there's nothing wrong with that. I've been weirdly, I've been playing Jedi, the first one, Fallen Order.
Really?
I never finished that. Yeah, because I've been testing out this Amazon Xboxy Fire Stick doohickey thingy. I don't know if you're down with the Amazon Fire Stick news. Upset a lot of people with this marketing slogan, "No Xbox, no problem."
Yeah, no. How does Chad? How do you feel about that? No Xbox required. And their ad for the Amazon Fire Stick, where the girl's like, "Oh, I didn't know. Didn't you need a stinky Xbox to play that game?
Stinky.
Didn't you need a stinky console? I don't want that." And she's like, "You don't need it? Well, no, I'm gonna be a gamer." Like, okay, whatever.
She actually say that?
No, I mean she doesn't, but it's essentially the scenario they're painting, like because it kind of it evokes and it's kind of paying homage to Scream when it's like, hey, hey Sydney, I'm in the house. Where what's your favorite scary movie, right?
Oh right,
And
I haven't seen the trailer.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
And she's talking about like the games, like is that an Xbox, whatever? And he's like, you don't need an Xbox anymore. And she's like, oh great, I don't need a stinky console. Let me just play this game. Yeah,
she
whatever.
Says stinky.
No, she doesn't. I'm just saying this. In my mind,
so you're offended.
She's like,
so you're offended about things that weren't said.
No, it's just how I know. I just know how people are when it comes to the whole like marketing,
I get
like
you.
No console needed, right, type of thing.
Yeah, I get you, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been trying it out. It works really well. Where I am in England, your mileage will vary intensively based on your geographical location, your proximity to Microsoft servers, will, create huge variance in the quality of xCloud for you. But for me, I live relatively near a data center. I've got 1 gigabyte down, which, is the ideal scenario really from Microsoft's perspective. And also I've got Wi-Fi 6E with my router, which means
my
router. My router. Yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I got Wi-Fi 6E with my router. and it and the Amazon Fire Stick 4K supports Wi-Fi 6E, which, and also it's in the same room as the router. So it's basically I couldn't have more of a perfect setup for testing it. So like for me, it's almost native. It's not quite native, but it's to the point where I was playing Jedi Fallen Order because it was like when I was testing it, the first game that came up was Jedi Fallen Order, which a game I'm about, I don't know, maybe a third of the way through or something like that. And I was like, well, I might as well test it with this. And I was playing it and playing it and playing it, and I was just like, oh, before I knew it, I'd lost 2 hours to playing it on xCloud as if it was native. It was just that good of an experience. So that's like the other game I've been playing, and the whole xCloud thing. How do you feel about that? Do you think it's like a big deal? Like I've seen some people really upset about this and saying like, oh, Xbox is going to replace the console and all this kind of stuff. But I'm just sitting there thinking like, this is a console. This literally is a console.
For now.
No, but forever. Because it's like, my perspective is, why would Microsoft take away your ability to run a cloud server at home? Because it costs them money to run the cloud server at their end. Unless there's a huge breakthrough in electricity technology and energy becomes, cheap as hell, there's never going to be a scenario where it's more cost effective for them than to give you the cloud server to run in your own home. That's basically what an Xbox is right now. It's an Xbox Cloud Blade that you run on your home electricity. I don't understand that logic. Why wouldn't you offer that to people? Am I crazy for thinking that? I don't think I am.
I mean, I don't know. It depends on how much, they take a bath on it. I mean, aren't they taking a bath on the Series X pretty hard? Still?
Bath?
Like losing a ton of money on selling the Series X?
I mean, I don't think they're losing as much as they're losing on pursuing cloud right now. I mean, you gotta remember that, like, you've got all these people like Apple and Google basically blocking the monetization aspect of it. And yeah, Amazon isn't blocking it. Apple is, Google is, but Samsung and Amazon aren't blocking in-app monetization, which, is a path to it being economically viable. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know why they would ever stop allowing you to have that in your own home, because it's just cost effective to do so. And it's the same development environment. If you're making a cloud game, you're also making an Xbox native game. There's literally no reason to remove the home console, in my view. Unless somehow it's more expensive to make a console than it is a cloud blade. But that just isn't the case right now. I don't know.
I mean, I don't really have an issue with the cloud gaming, and I don't really even have an issue with the marketing for it, because how else are you supposed to market it to people who aren't really gamers in a way? Like, how would you market it to people who wouldn't buy a console? I mean, the whole point is that you can play these games without it. So, yeah, I mean, the most obvious marketing point is to say you don't need the console for it. Because if you market it in any other way, it just becomes an add-on for people who already own the console. And that's not exactly what they want. They want to reach beyond that user base, in as much as the same way like mobile phones when they started making games suddenly had this new whole audience they could sell their products to. And a lot of those people, a lot of those companies took advantage of this new audience, like, that never really played games in the first place. So, I know, like, us hardcore gamers, we look at the advertisements and they're like, what the fuck, man? Xbox is saying you don't need the console? Fuck, dude. Really? Like...
They're from California?
Yeah, I mean, essentially.
Tubular.
And you get upset because you identify as a console gamer. That's like who you are. And it feels like they're moving away from what you enjoy to pursue other avenues. Now, you can make the argument that, and you've written about this, about how Microsoft's focus does seem to be on anything that isn't the console, and I do think that is an issue. Like,
I agree.
If you would say you have 100 units and Microsoft is determining where to put these 100 resources in, it used to all be on console. During the original Xbox, the Xbox 360, even most of the Xbox One gen. But ever since then, it feels like less and less. Like, all right, well now some of these resources are going to cloud, and some of these resources are going to PC, and some of these resources are going over here, and some of these resources are going over there. So while it used to be the complete focus and no longer is, and there are people out there who really feel a certain way about that. And like, I'm a console gamer, and there was a point where even with all this stuff, like I was like, I don't know if I like their focus on PC. I don't know if I like their focus on the cloud, because it's not what I want, right? I would do things differently because I want it my way, and everybody wants it their own way. And, sometimes you got to step beyond it and realize, okay, well, they're coming at it from this angle, and they want to expand their user base, and how do they do this, and what are the things and they don't, there's infinite money and infinite resources and infinite time to do these things, so you got to pick and choose. Yeah. It just sort of seems like for a lot of people that Microsoft is turning their back on their hardcorest of users and trying to it's almost like Microsoft, who's been married for so long to this wonderful, loving wife who has basically been with him forever, and now he's tired of her, and now he wants the hot new thing.
Here comes the metaphors.
Yeah, now Microsoft wants that 20-year-old, right?
Like he's saying Microsoft's Leonardo DiCaprio.
Maybe, but in this scenario, like the console gamers, the aging wife, she's like reached her peak. She doesn't have much left to offer. But Microsoft is looking around, and he's like, I don't know. But then he sees that hot 20-year-old PC strolling by the office, and he's got those eyes. He's got them lustful eyes. And then he sees like down like, oh, look, cloud gaming. He sees the 20-year-old cloud gaming walking by in them high heels. He's like, maybe I can salvage this. Maybe I can stay married to my beautiful, loving wife, where the foundation is built upon, but I can sort of get my fill with my couple mistresses here. I can dabble with PC, and I can dabble with cloud gaming over here,
It sounds like Microsoft's going to be on the receiving end of a nasty lawsuit and maybe a HR violation, but
probably
in your metaphor. But yeah, I know what you mean. I do think, like, I said this to people at Microsoft in LA. I was like, bring us with you. We might not be like, that interested in what you're doing on PC. I mean, I personally am, but I was like, I advocate for the Xbox customer at the end of the day, because personally, I don't think they're going to have much success competing with Steam. So, as someone, I play roughly 75% of my gaming time is on Xbox, and I do care about PC, and, as we know, I play a lot of Warcraft and some PC games that just play better with the mouse and keyboard. There's a lot of games that just play better with the mouse and keyboard. I'll be playing Frostpunk on PC, for example. Frostpunk 2 coming out soon. Really looking forward to that. Or soonish, at least. But, when it comes to the console stuff, I was just like, Microsoft, bring us with you. You don't have to sort of, ditch everything that was, great about Xbox so you can pursue this. Can't you just sort of throw us a bone as well? And that's why I always bring up, like, we could have improvements to the achievement system. We could have this. We could have that. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit that I think would make Xbox fans happy, that they've been asking for improvements to for a long-ass time and just never received. Because Microsoft was just like, oh, well, this won't help grow the platform. And I'm just like, well, maybe it won't help grow the platform, but you have to maintain the platform. There's that sort of argument to be made too, I feel. I don't think Microsoft's done a particularly great job of making us feel loved and wanted, and like your waifu metaphor you've got rocking there.
You didn't like my that metaphor?
I think it's a good metaphor. I think it is a good metaphor. Maybe
somebody in chat said it was a boring metaphor. Like Microsoft's going to do what they're going to do. Yeah, I mean, of course they are. And it's just, yes, they're going to do what's best for their business, and they've talked about it repeatedly about reaching 3 billion gamers, and you're not going to do that with just a console. And, you know, Microsoft has a lot of ambitions, but will they be able to nail those ambitions? Can they do that? We'll see. I mean, Tom Warren had put out a rumor this past week that Xbox was essentially, what is it? Kind
pulling
of
back marketing from
pulling back
Europe.
marketing, only focusing on Game Pass, PC, and like the cloud in Europe, and kind of pulling back on console. And I know you had tweeted about. I mean, I'm sure you talked to people. So what was the what you heard?
A lot of media, and I find this increasingly, like a lot of non-English media, they often read reports from like Tom Warren or myself, and I don't know if they do this on purpose, but the context gets lost when they're translating it. So I got a bunch of DMs from regions, you know, in Europe that, you know, don't necessarily have English as a first language, and they were like, "Oh, Xbox is quitting Europe," you know, because that's how when the story was transliterated, that's how it was framed by some either unscrupulous outlets or lazy outlets or whatever. So I just put a tweet out saying, no, they're not pulling out of Europe, you know, because I got at least 4 DMs, you know, with regards to that. I just thought I'd nip this in the bud now, you know, and I saw people talking about it on Twitter. I saw headlines to that effect, and I also saw an Instagram reel making that claim, you know. So yeah, that's where that tweet comes from. But it's yeah, I don't know what the marketing situation is. I was just kind of like, they've never marketed that hard in Europe. So that's my thought process. And I don't know if that's sort of fair. And maybe Microsoft's just like, Europe's a lost cause, and you know, maybe it's better for us if we put the marketing spend in America and the UK and the markets where we do have a prayer, you know, to grow. Maybe console in general is not growing in Europe. I don't know. I'm not really that up on what the current situation looks like in some of those markets, but I don't think anything's as dire as people want to believe they are, you know. Because at the end of the day, it's all about active players and people buying and selling and purchasing, purchasing games. And from every account, that's what is happening. You know, everything is as it was, you know, and Xbox is bigger than it ever has been, you know. That's what they said to me in LA, and that's what they tell the SEC, that Xbox is bigger than it's ever been, you know. So all this other stuff that sort of revolves around this drama, it just seems like, I don't know where it's all coming from. Just a lot of noise, I guess.
Yeah, there's always going to be a bunch of noise, bunch of drama as well.
Drama.
It always happens. It's like last month, everything's great, everything's the best it's ever been. Look at the games that Microsoft is putting out here: Fable, Doom, and South of Midnight, and Perfect Dark, and they all look amazing. See, this is the thing. It's like, it's funny because I saw a comment that basically said, let me see if I can find it. He said it's sad because it sounds like Rand and Jez are giving up on console. And I don't know where you would get that from, because
Rand definitely, I can't see Rand ever giving up on console.
Yeah, if there's one thing I won't give up on, it's the console. Yeah, Mr. Young Helligan says it's kind of sad that even Rand and Jez seem like they're also giving up on the console. That is as far from the truth as it can possibly be. Look, I mean, my metaphor was just for fun. I mean, you can clearly see that Microsoft is pursuing a lot of different options to get their games in front of lots of different people so they can make lots and lots of money. And when it used to be just console, you know, that's how it used to be, but it's not like that anymore. But people always want to hold on to the past, and they don't like it when things change. But, you know, here's the thing I always say. I remember having these conversations with people at Xbox, even directly with Phil, back in like 2015, 2016, when he asked me, like, hey, what should I do to improve the brand? Right? And my number one thing was like, you need to build a first-party studio system. Because at the time, they didn't really have one. They had 5. They had 5 studios. So basically, my whole thing was like, listen, I only care about the games. So 1, I want great games. 2, you need to build up the studio support system to be able to make a ton of those. And, I mean, they did exactly that. I mean, it took as long as it took, but they went from 5 to 30 plus, whatever it has, whatever the number is now. And, the games, 1 year will be great, 1 year will be kind of whatever. And you can see what their roadmap is right now, where it looks like the next 3 years seem to be pretty loaded with content. And you're like, okay, this is exactly what I asked for all those years ago. It's just taking time to get to that point. But in the meantime, Microsoft's business strategies and Xbox's strategies shifted. But, at the end of the day, like, I still am beyond excited for, the games that they're going to be putting out the next 3 years. That's the most important thing, is that the games and that they're good. So we can have fun talking about the metaphors and talking about the business updates and talking about, like, what games might go to PlayStation or what have you, and all these other sort of things. But, as far as me giving up on the console, yeah, no. I will hold on to that console until it breathes its dying breath, right? So, I mean, because you're talking to somebody that is, like, I could play on my beast PC, but I don't choose not to. I don't know. I'm just a console person. Maybe it eventually happened down the road, but I mean, you have the wrong opinion about me, sir. That's for sure. Let me get a couple of these super chats, and we'll move on to I'm sure what everybody wants to say, the drama of the week. Because normally it's like, listen, it's funny because I put out a video about the price increase and the day one stuff, and I had some people in the comments that were like, imagine defending a price increase and stuff. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, I think I said it 3 times in the video. I was like, nobody likes paying more for things. Nobody likes paying more for something that they've, at all. Like, I don't want to pay more for anything. As a consumer, you probably don't either. It's not like I'm making more money. It's not like my wages have gone up, but all the prices of all these things around the world have gone up. And he's like, oh, imagine capping for... And I'm like, capping? I literally said, I don't begrudge anybody if they think it's too expensive now, or that, the service isn't worth them. Like, it's like, unsubscribe if you want. You don't have to subscribe, like, Yeah. I've been in many different financial situations. I've been broke as a joke with 0 money to my name. I'm not saying like rich, but then there have been other scenarios where I've, looked at a bank account and had a ton of money in there. So I've been everywhere in between. And maybe that's part of the reason why I'm such a cheapskate, is because I literally lived in my buddy's van because I was homeless and had nothing. And you don't know where your next meal's coming from or anything. And you try to make a dollar stretch as far as you can. And to some people, it's not going to matter. Price increases and they're going to roll with it because in their mind, like, hey, Xbox Game Pass is worth this amount of value, then I'm going to pay it. But for other people, they got bills to pay and stuff like that, and they can't afford it anymore. And so I'm never going to begrudge anybody that says it's too expensive for them, because I've been on all the different scenarios you can possibly imagine of, like, financial situation. So, yeah. But anyways, Lagerman, become a new member, or at least continuing. Thank you, brother. We got named Christian with the 249. Day one on Game Pass marketing must be fun now. I don't really think it's that. I know what you mean, but even at this past showcase where it said play day one on Game Pass, Game Pass Core exists. And that's a tier that doesn't have day one games on it. So even then there was already a tier that wasn't getting day one games, and they still use that tagline. Maybe they could use asterisks in the future, but I don't know. We'll see. Tyler F with the $6.99. My internet is not that good. Downloads crash my internet. Is Xbox worth it for me? Because of this problem, I buy physical games on Xbox and Switch. That's an interesting question, Jez. What do you think about this? He says his internet's not that good and downloads crash his internet.
I mean, if you keep your console set to offline, I mean, physical games are work fine.
Yeah. I mean,
I do think like physical games their time is numbered. I think.
Well, I think they're definitely numbered more so on Xbox sooner than the other platforms.
Yeah, I would definitely say that Xbox is probably gonna ditch physical games before the other platforms. I would expect that firmly. But I would say probably Nintendo would probably be the last to ditch, maybe.
Did you see the news that between between Switch and whatever the new one is, has already been the longest time in between new Nintendo hardware?
I did see that, but like at the same time, it's like people, I guess they're happy with the performance of the Switch.
I mean, they're still selling well enough, I guess.
This is the service game effect. There are. The Nintendo doesn't have Call of Duty yet. And it doesn't have like the latest and greatest, but it does have like a lot of those classic sort of free to play games, which have given it an irregularly long lifespan. Or what did Palpatine say?
Palpatine? We're bringing up Star Wars in the show? What's this metaphor going to be?
I know, like about using the Force to extend your lifespan beyond what's natural. Essentially, that's what the service games are doing for these platforms to some degree. I think extending the lifespan of the platforms far beyond where they would have been in previous generations. Like the Xbox One and PS4, they're still heavily active people on those platforms, heavily active. And more so on Xbox, I think, because Microsoft arguably hasn't given as many reasons to upgrade as PlayStation has, because they've had difficulty getting the games out. I think that's on the docket to change in the near future. And I think like with the Xbox 360 store being shut down, and I think with Xbox having Game Pass and Call of Duty, I think there are a lot of people still on 360 who now might finally be like, maybe now I can upgrade. Maybe now it's worth it. Maybe there'll be some really great deals going into the holiday season that people will take advantage of and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's why Switch has had an irregularly long lifespan. And
it's also they were making bank. Switch was selling gangbusters for a long time, and they never dropped. I don't think they dropped the price on that thing. They introduced other models that were cheaper, but the main Switch, I don't think ever really saw a price drop.
No, they never dropped the price on their own games either.
I mean, look even at Xbox Series consoles and PS4. There's been they've dropped price at promotional times for promotions and stuff, but for the most part, we're 4 years in, and the base price is still the same. In fact, they're gone up.
Yeah,
they've gone up. The prices are still the exact same. They normally prices 4 years in, you get permanent price cuts and stuff, and I think that's part of the reasons why the uptick on the consoles haven't been as maybe as fast as they've wanted to, is because the Series X and the PS5 have been $499 for a while. And it looks like they're going to be continuing to be $499 for a while.
And that again, that's the silicon stuff. Like silicon, there's a big issue with silicon just not coming down in price, and part of that's driven by the pandemic rush where everyone suddenly had to work from home, and then companies were like, oh, we can set up our companies here with work from home facilities. We'll move our entire platform to the cloud, left, right, and center, and loads of companies were doing that. Tons and tons of companies were doing that, whole like shifting their entire operation to the cloud. And then you had the crypto rush for a little while. Do you remember the GPU shortage because of crypto? Everyone was like, "Oh, we're gonna make a crypto farm now. We're gonna mine Bitcoin," and that kept GPU prices high. And now we've got the AI gold rush, where every company's like, "Oh, we need silicon to make huge servers for training AI models for
it made
God knows
Nvidia
why."
be like the biggest company in the world.
Yeah, and Nvidia's become the biggest company in the world on the back of this AI gold rush. And I read a report in Goldman Sachs not yesterday, which I'm going to report on soon, where Goldman Sachs was just like, "Yeah, we don't know how these companies plan to monetize this shit."
It almost seems like it's a bubble waiting to burst.
Yeah, and maybe it is, because right now it just seems like AI is really expensive, but the actual day-to-day usage for most people. I mean, I've seen like financial analysts, using it to analyze numbers and stuff, but like the mass market consumers, they're not finding any real use for AI right now. And I think that's causing some alarm with some investors, but that is also keeping silicon prices high. And you've got all the fact that the silicon prices are still just really high kind of also impacts PlayStation, Switch, and also Xbox when it comes to being able to lower prices over time. Back then, it was like over the course of a gen, the prices would just come down and come down and come down, and they're just not now because costs have just stayed heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is, I suppose.
Yeah, PandaMan77 with the 199 says, new name, Steam-powered Xbox 2. Love the show. That'd be an interesting name. Steam-powered. Timothy Strubble with the 10. A few years ago, I stacked Xbox Game Pass. My current sub goes to until mid-2025. I'm debating about renewing at the new price point. Is there a certain price point that you feel is just too much? Like, are you asking us specifically? Like, what would be our price point where we would be like, that's too much? Because everybody has this, right? I guess we'll answer it. What price point is it for you, Jez? Where you be like,
for me, I think this is the price point where I don't think. Yeah, I don't think I would abide going harder than this personally. Like if they put it up to 25, if they put it up like incrementally year over year, I think I'd just be like, whatever. But if they tried to put up to 25 next year, I'm just gonna be like,
that would be a steep jump if they went up to 25 next year.
Yeah, it would be. But I think 25 would be like where I'd just be like, nope. And like before then, I'd just be kind of like, whatever, But I am getting to the point where it's just like, do I actually like you need this? Do I use it enough? Like one of the things that I use it for more than anything, which is probably not true for most people, is the cloud stuff, right? I use the cloud stuff fairly often, especially when I'm in Germany, because of, fighting over the TV. And Clobril put a tweet out there the other day, which I actually put down because he was like, they should do a cloud only subscription, right? And I put a tweet out saying, the economics aren't there today, because Google and Apple block it, right? But then after I put that tweet out, someone reached out to me from Xbox and they was like, don't be so sure. And they were pointing me at like they're also pointing me at the fact that the EU is forcing Apple to open up to other stores, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Epic has built its own launcher for iOS, which they're fighting Apple to get into their store. And it was kind of like hinted to me that Microsoft is actually exploring a cloud-only subscription, for Game Pass. So, Clobril was kind of right and prophetic when he put that out there. So I do think like You know, if there was a cloud only subscription, I would probably switch over to that maybe because I just don't have time to play enough games that's on offer. And I think that's the thing with Game Pass right now is that people are debating the merits of it back and forth. I've seen some people saying like Game Pass has destroyed the perception of value of games, and it's just like how can we be out there saying like, oh, nobody uses Game Pass and it's not growing, but then also blaming it for destroying the perception of value of games, while also praising Steam sales, you know, and people brag about the fact that they wait for a game to be 90% off before they buy it on Steam, you know. Is Steam not destroying the perception of value of games? And also like the biggest games in the world are free to play. Is free to play not destroying the perception of value of games? Like I've literally have some people like say to me like shocked that Minecraft isn't free, you know. And because they're just people just expect things to be free now. You know, is that not destroyed perception of game? Like, why is Xbox why is Xbox Game Pass to blame with its like a few 10 million subscribers? Why is not like bigger platforms to blame, like free to play? I don't know. Do you know the reason, Rand? I think I probably know the reason. But anyway, I digress.
What reason?
Xbox tax, baby.
Oh,
Xbox does it, it's bad. But if other companies do it, it's fine. But anyway. Semi joking there, but I suppose the other aspect to this is like people debating whether Microsoft's strategy was right because they've compromised the promise of the long held promise of the day one game, right? And in some people's eyes they've compromised the promise of the day one game, but like have they? Because you know, from what I was told in LA, the vast majority of people on the service are using Ultimate, which, from what I can tell, still has day one games. You know,
I guess my price point would probably be anything beyond 25, probably. Like, if it ever got up to 30, that would be like, whoa, wait a second here, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think it ever will.
You don't think it gets that high?
I think 25 is probably the max they could go. I mean, Ultimate started at what, 15, and now it's up to 20. So, how much more can you go? And I mean, the thing with the streaming services is they all constantly go up, right? Like Netflix, or they add tiers that are more expensive. Like Netflix, I think you can only get 4K streams if you pay, what is it, $22 a month or $23 a month, whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, there is a point when I'd be like, okay, what I'm paying for monthly doesn't match what I'm getting back. But we'll talk about that more in depth. Victor,
I don't think they'll. Just to round it off, I don't think they'll put the price up in any sort of major leap like they have this year for a while. If they do another price increase, it'd probably be like incremental, like what Netflix does. But I think even Netflix and Spotify, there's got to be a hard limit where people are just like, you know, how much am I paying for Spotify right now?
I canceled my Spotify. They raised it again, and I was like, nope, I'm out. I'm done.
I think I pay like $24.99 for my Spotify because it's like the family plan and stuff. And I do use it a lot. But I don't know. Yeah, so I've got like 4 people on my plan. Oh, it's £19 a month. I mean, that's fair enough. There's some other stuff that I cancelled, like Crunchyroll. Don't use that enough. Do you subscribe to Crunchyroll, right?
No. I have not replied. Subscribe to Crunchyroll.
Yeah, like Mr. Genesis in the chat, Hulu, Disney Plus, Spotify, YouTube Premium, Netflix, it all adds up, yeah. It does add up, you know. Like, I got Disney Plus, and I'm just thinking, why? I never use it. Never, ever use it. And then every time I'm like, to my girlfriend, we should cancel Disney Plus, she's like, oh, not Disney, no.
But I can't watch my Frozen or Inside Out or my Star Wars shows.
No. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of.
Disney Plus has kind of almost gotten to that point for me where I don't. I mean, I watched X-Men '97, but it's at that point where if they raise it again, I'm
You're
probably
out.
out. I'm probably out. Like
Yeah.
Spotify is something I don't know. I didn't really use Spotify that much. They kept on raising it, and this last one I was like, nope, too much.
Much.
And so for
I'm
me,
gone.
yeah. You know what's the best subscription service, but nobody really talks about it?
Mm.
And it's the one that I use the most.
What's
YouTube
that?
Premium.
Yeah, YouTube Premium is by far the most valuable, I think.
No
I
ads
use
on YouTube?
Yeah.
Glorious.
I use
Glorious.
YouTube every day.
I know.
Every
exactly.
single day.
I use YouTube
I don't
every
use
day.
Netflix every day.
Yep,
I don't use
that's
Disney
true.
Plus every day. So like, yeah, I think that is by far the most valuable subscription. But I use Xbox Live quite a lot to play online. I don't use Xbox Game Pass that much, to be honest, because I just I mean, I suppose it's different for me because like I get a lot of the games through work.
Yes.
But even if I didn't, there's not like the day one game stuff is there's not as much on there as I would probably like, that I would like to play, I suppose. Sometimes there's like a burst of like, oh wow, there's loads of games on Game Pass I want to play, and then there'll be like these droughts where it's like, oh, there's nothing on Game Pass I want to play. I don't know.
Victor Lopez with the 999 says the first Descendant is a flash in the pan. Space Marine 2 looks like that game. Curious to hear if it's on your guys' radar. I'm so bought in that I've been watching lore videos for weeks. Yes, I am.
Oh yeah,
Space
I'm
Marine
into
2.
that, yeah.
Absolutely. I really liked the first one, which came out during the 360 gen. So,
It's not on back compatible, is
I
it?
don't think so, but I'm not sure. So
Yeah,
yes,
I'm sad because I never played the original.
it's
never played it.
It's a good game. I mean, at the time, people called it a Gears clone, but it was doing some unique stuff. And I mean, I don't know that much about the Warhammer universe, but some of the stuff in there was super cool. So yeah, I am very interested in Space Marine 2. I'll definitely be playing it. September's packed because I'm also interested in Astrobot, which I think is 3 days before. So September's got a lot of games in there. Lagerman, what's up, buddy? He goes, hey guys, hear me out. Next Xbox full PC, games ship with optimized .ini files and Xbox interface. Steam and Epic created stores integrated. Game Pass 2. I mean, it could be how it plays out. Could be you get the
Yeah,
Xbox
maybe.
console and then you get a handheld. And those are the two offerings. And maybe they merge their PC stuff with their console stuff. And that's the future. We'll just have to wait and see if that actually is what happens. Dave Ramos with the 5. Xbox app on PC allows me to choose to stream directly from my home console. Does the Xbox app on the Fire TV offer the same?
I haven't tested that yet. I'm gonna have a full write-up of that soon on Windows Central, so I will test that specific scenario for you and let you know.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't have a Fire Stick. But then again, I have no reason to actually use it anyways. So it's not for me. I'm not the person who they're advertising to for that stuff. Jay Foley with the 5. It seems like Xbox and PlayStation are more focused on putting their games on PC. I can't see how the consoles survive after the next gen of consoles.
I mean, there is some debate about that. I think consoles survive, but maybe I'm overly optimistic.
Maybe if you could just get to the streaming tech where everything runs as smoothly as GeForce Now, which everybody says is amazing, then if you actually had that for everything, maybe people are like, all right. Well, I think a lot of people also view the consoles as also game ownership, where like, here's the console and here's my physical games I can buy, so I own it. Because that's one thing you can't say about PC. The same people that talk about ownership of games, everything on Steam's digital. and
DRM based.
some of it's DRM based, and
a lot of it is.
If they got rid of the console and everything was just streaming, well, then you truly don't own anything. Truly, like you couldn't resell discs and stuff. And I could see I don't know if it'd be a large segment of the audience, because you can see the splits between digital and physical, and it's dwindling every single year. But just because someone likes digital doesn't mean they'll be into streaming, because not everybody's internet is as good as, someone else's. So, but then we're talking about how many years away? You saying like the next gen of consoles, so not this one. So you're talking about the generation past next. So if we assume the next gen starts in 2026, 2028, and goes for 6 or 7 years, you're talking about, I don't know, what, 2035? Who knows what the world looks like in 2035?
Yeah.
Right? Who knows where technology is? I mean, yeah, you could have a scenario where streaming technology is that good and there is no need for the console anymore, and they get rid of it and they save a bunch of money by not having R&D it. And
the thing is, they'd still have to R&D server blades, and I agree. It's like you cut out the whole idea is like you cut out the middleman. I suppose you don't have to deal with retailers and stuff. But Microsoft could just sell Xbox consoles directly if they wanted to cut out the middleman. Or PlayStation could, sell consoles directly.
PlayStation was selling consoles directly. They were selling it from the PlayStation Direct, remember?
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's how they were selling their VR2 for forever, essentially.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I mean. If you want to save money and cut out retailers, you could do that already. I don't think you need to go all the way to cloud to do that. I think the only way that we lose consoles is if energy becomes so cheap, so universal, that it's no longer trivial for Microsoft to pass on the cost of electricity use to the consumer, because that's what they're doing essentially with the consoles. They're passing on the electricity and energy use of actually running a console. They're passing that cost on to you. Whereas, like in the cloud, they have to factor in that cost when they are building out their business model for that platform. But if energy was so cheap because of some kind of breakthrough with fusion energy generation, nuclear fusion or something like that, we're getting a bit sci-fi here. But this is technology that they are working on, right now, and there has been some, decent breakthroughs recently. That's the only way consoles go away, in my opinion, is if energy just gets so cheap. I think like AI also has this bottleneck. I think Sam Altman was talking about this, like the AI right now is hard bottlenecked by how much electricity costs.
Right.
And that's because but what he's saying there is how much the cloud costs, essentially. Because AI is all running the cloud. It's all running Microsoft's cloud. So yeah, all that sort of cost is, eating into their margins in the similar way to that retail does, But we can't predict the future. Like, the technology marches on, all kinds of stuff will change, all that kind of, that universe that we live in, that we take for granted today, will be completely different in a few years. It's crazy how quick technology marches on.
Indeed. Just James, member for 8 months, says, is anyone going to buy any non-backwards compatible games in the 360 store, and do you think another deal will happen before it closes? Like and subscribe. Indeed, like and subscribe. Yeah, the store is closing soon. Anybody in chat planning on buying some non-back compat games to play on, I guess, your 360, because you wouldn't be able to play it on anything else? Yeah, have you bought anything, Jez? Any of the 360 games that are on sale because the store closing?
I think I pretty much own everything that I ever wanted to own on 360. I think.
Yeah.
I think like I went digital really early. I went digital really early because like people who've been listening to the show for a while, probably you might have heard me complain about storage issues.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of storage issues. I have a tiny room. And, I can't afford to get my own place eternally. Can't afford to get my own place. So that sort of puts a limit on how much storage space I got. So, like, at the first opportunity when Microsoft started doing digital games, I went all in. I converted my entire digital library of games to digital, my entire physical library to digital, and then donated all the games to charity because I couldn't even sell them because they weren't worth any money. But yeah, every game that I could convert, I did, or I bought them on Steam. So um, so there's nothing left for me to buy really.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of games that I would love to have tried out, like Space Marine 1. I wonder. It's weird that never came to back compat. I suppose maybe they want to give it the remaster treatment. Who's publishing that game? Is it? It's not Embracer Group, is it?
I want to say it's Sumo Digital making that game.
But aren't they Embracer Group? Oh, did they split from Embracer Group? Or am I going crazy?
I think it's Sumo. I could be wrong though, but
Sumo split off from Embracer Group, didn't they? Or am I going crazy? Am I going crazy?
Yes, I want to say they did.
Am I tweaking, as the kids say?
Just Google it really quickly.
I can't. I'm fighting a boss.
Who are you fighting a boss in?
I'm fighting Commander Niall for multiplayer people on Elden Ring.
Oh my lord!
I'm helping people. I'm getting some rune arcs. I'm getting some free runes. You know,
right?
I'm just a helpful guy. You know.
I mean, I don't have a 360 anymore, but even if I did, I pretty much played everything I ever wanted on the 360. So, Xbox Era says Sumo was never owned by them. Tencent does. So Tencent owns them.
Ah, right, okay. Who am I getting mixed up by? Who?
I don't know.
Someone split off from Embracer Group.
Someone
Did Sumo split off from
recently...
Tencent? I might be really confused now.
I don't think so. I don't know. There's a lot of studios with Embracer, so yes. We got Weston with the $9.99. One issue I have is the journalist saying it's not a good value in making videos called Game Pass. Yikes. And saying that people only play 3 games a year. Well, I think statistics will tell you that people only play 3 games a year. Or the data shows that...
Newzoo is an analytics firm, and they put out that only 8% of playtime hours in the last year between May and May of 2024-2023 was spent in 5 games. And those 5 games were Grand Theft Auto Online, Call of Duty, and its permutations, Fortnite, Minecraft, and Roblox, I think. So there's data to back up that claim. And I wrote an article about that recently where it was like, maybe variety isn't enough. Maybe people don't want variety. Maybe people don't care about variety. Maybe the amount of people who want that kind of experience is sort of like, niche. Maybe we're niche, And I think in that context, it's like, well, how do you make Game Pass grow if people don't want the variety? And I argued that they probably need more stuff. Like Microsoft has the right idea. Like League of Legends, you can get all the characters for League of Legends if you've got Game Pass. You can get all the characters for Valorant if you've got Game Pass. Like more benefits for free-to-play games in Game Pass. You could do a deal with Epic where you get like, I don't know, 2,000 V-Bucks a month, and bring over some of the Amazon Prime stuff. Like in Amazon Prime, you get battle pass skips for Overwatch and Diablo and stuff like that. Bring that across. I think there's a lot of things they can do to make Game Pass more attractive to people who aren't interested in variety, because it's true that a lot of people aren't interested in variety right now.
It's also tough to get people interested in a subscription service if all they play is free to play stuff. But
exactly.
Yeah, you could do exactly what you're talking about. You could do the perks.
The perks.
And now that Microsoft owns those, you think they'd be able to do it, but maybe there's contracts, with Amazon that say, for this amount of time or whatever. But yeah, it's that same thing. It's not only, I think, hurts subscription services, I think it hurts buying like games, period, let alone indie or AAA, because a lot of people will be like, well, why am I going to spend $40 on this when I can play Fortnite for free? And Fortnite gives me everything I want.
Fortnite and free-to-play games have upended the industry in a way that I don't think enough people are giving it credit for, negative or positive. I see all this vitriol towards Game Pass hurting the value of games and just crickets when it comes to Fortnite and free-to-play, anything, The whole, here's a great example about this whole debate. Like they announced that like practically nobody has bought those. You know, Apple at their event they were saying like, oh, we've got Assassin's Creed, we've got Resident Evil native on iPhone. Practically nobody bought them because mobile gamers expect things to be free.
Yep.
They don't want to play premium to play a game designed for TV on their phone. And I think like I was mocking this when they announced it because, you know, I kind of expected that's the way it was going to go down, and seemingly it has. You know, it's not easy to change users' habits, and Apple started to realize now, maybe there might have been more money in this if we hadn't sort of raced to the bottom and tried to make every game a casino. But alas, that's the universe we now find ourselves in, and the whole industry is trying to figure out how we can go forward in that era where there are still millions of gamers like us who want variety. We want games that are premium feel from start to finish and have an end, and then we can move on to the next thing. We want games like Elden Ring.
Yes.
We want games like Jedi Fallen Order. We want games like Cyberpunk. We are like our sort of cohort isn't growing because all these little kids coming in from their iPad life and non-gaming parents are like, oh, all these games are free. Like a lot of kids are coming in with that sort of old school mindset, but that's because they've got old school parents. But a lot of the kids coming in, they've just been on Roblox, they've just been on Fortnite, they've just been on like cheap games, or that are free to play, or designed with addictive qualities in mind, like gacha and stuff like that. And the idea of spending the $70 on a game that doesn't last forever is completely alien concept to them. The whole industry is wrestling with how to address ballooning costs while also addressing the fact that youngsters and habits are different to what the core audience demands. Maybe they just need to accept that there is no growth, and if you want to make art, you have to accept that you're not just going to make a shitload of money, or become billionaires and, become the next Fortnite or whatever, and I think it's easy to do when you're a private company or an independent company to just be like, yeah, we're going to be about the art. But when you're a publicly traded company, when you've got stakeholders and stuff, it becomes much more complicated. Did you see how much Zenless
Zone Zero? Yeah, the latest game from the Genshin Impact devs.
So that's already made like $30 million in a week or something like that. And that's completely free. $30 million. I can't remember exact number. I think it was something within that region. But all these sort of free to play, addictive gambling kind of games. And then if I'm a game dev or if I'm even a publisher and a company looking at that stuff, I'm just like, why am I sitting here trying to make a game for like 40-year-olds who get mad if I change even the smallest, slightest thing,
It is an interesting dilemma. We got Fried Melon here with the 5. He gives out a code for PC Game Pass for 3 months. So thank him. Thank you very much. Hopefully whoever took it gives a big shout out to Fried Melon for the free 3 months. JD Gamer with the 5. How many Xbox 360 games do you think get announced for back compat right after the Xbox 360 closes, all with full series upgrades?
Here's what's going on with that. They're gonna drip feed it. Like we sort of, I think me and Rand kind of the ABK games.
He didn't mention ABK.
I thought he was talking about
how many Xbox 360 games do you think get announced for backwards compatibility right after the 360 store closes, all with full Xbox Series upgrades?
I thought this was about ABK games getting backwards compatible.
I mean, there could be the ABK games, like, yeah, that could happen, but
I think they've done all of third party. I think they've pretty much done all they can with back compat now. That's what they said anyway. But I think there's still some like potentially some ABK games that could come still.
Yes.
And from what I've heard is that the plan is to drip feed them over the next few months. And one of the topics Rand has in the title is Call of Duty.
Call of Duty coming to Game Pass soon. Where'd you hear that from, guys?
Wasn't that one of your
famous
Randall predictions?
amazing predictions? I think, was it last week? I said on the show?
It was last week.
I said, hey, don't be surprised. I predict Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 going to be coming to Game Pass by the end of the month before Crash. Because Xtasis said Crash is coming in August, and you corroborated that report. And then I think he even said recently Atlas Fallen's coming. Which, I mean, Atlas Fallen's not a good game. At least it wasn't when I played it. Maybe it's better now. Maybe it did a Cyberpunk. Maybe they did a bunch of updates to it or something. But Tom Henderson came out and wrote an article a few days ago that said, according to his sources, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is going to be hitting Game Pass by the end of the month. And then Jez Corden came out and corroborated that reporting, yes?
Yes, Samuel Tolbert wrote the article for me.
Okay,
So
Sam
shout out to
Tolbert.
him,
Okay.
But yeah, I did. We corroborated it, and how very interesting how Randall predictions, sometimes very specific Randall predictions, very specifically seem to come true.
Sometimes.
It's very interesing, very intriguing how that happens.
You just hear
sometimes you get lucky.
Sometimes you just, you just read
get lucky.
Read the tea leaves. You know what I mean?
All right, yeah. Yeah, sure, man. Sure, that's
sometimes it happens. As for when it would get announced, well, I mean, they usually announce Game Pass games on Tuesdays, like every other week. They got to be announcing the back half of Game Pass for July on this upcoming week, so it'll be Tuesday. I think the 16th. But you would think Call of Duty is a big enough game where they could announce it on their own. So maybe you see an announcement from them on Monday. What they should have done is announced it along with these Game Pass changes. So you have some good news to swallow alongside of the bad news, right?
I have asked Xbox why they do that.
And
why they don't announce good news along with the bad, and it's like they're like we don't want to be seen as trying to bury the lead or bury bad news.
Bury the lead. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's being too honest. I'm sure like other companies would just be like, yeah, by the way, this Call of Duty's coming to Game Pass, and then like small print underneath. By the way, we're putting the price up for Game Pass, like in the small print, right?
Yeah.
I think they want to own their bad news, is what they said to me, and and fair play, but if it was me, I wouldn't be so scrupulous about it, I think.
Yeah. So if it's happening, I guess look out for next week, Monday or Tuesday, to get announced. And that is, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 hitting Game Pass is a pretty big. That'd be a pretty big. That's a huge game. Granted, it is, 9 months old ish. But I mean, you're talking about the first Call of Duty to enter Game Pass. Not only is it the first one, but it's also the most recent one. We'll see how people react. There's
if
a part
it's true,
of me.
might be wrong.
Well, it could be wrong, obviously. But Tom Henderson and Jez Corden both being wrong.
Well, if it's wrong, I'll just blame Tom.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
I'll be like, sorry guys, Tom led me astray.
But
blame Tom Henderson.
And some of my speculation about why I predicted it is because I thought they probably needed to run, and test might be a wrong word to use in this case, but to see how Call of Duty headquarters and the app reacts to Game Pass, and if they need to change anything or tweak anything for the launch of Call of Duty Black Ops 6 in November or October. So in my eyes, it's more of like like I said, test is a wrong word to use here, but you don't want your first big brand new day one Call of Duty game entering into Game Pass to run into any significant problems where people on Game Pass can't play it, but then people on other platforms who bought the game can play it. And then people on Game Pass are sitting there like, why doesn't this fucking work? Fucking goddamn it. So I think one of the reasons they would do this, because you can make the argument like, why would they do that? Blah, 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 blah. Is because, because Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2, and Black Ops 6 are on the same launcher. So I think they probably want to see how an influx
Yeah.
of all these people coming in, how does that stress it? Do they need to make some changes to make sure that the launch of Call of Duty Black Ops 6 goes smoothly in October, yeah? At least
I agree. I've heard. Can you hear that?
what? Hear what?
Boy races outside.
Hmm.
It's that time of year where, because I live on a ring road, every time of year, it's the street races, right? Street races come blaring down the ring road, and then, like, in about 2 minutes, there'll be police sirens chasing the boy racers every single year, year in, year out. But yeah, I completely lost my train of thought there. What were we talking about again?
You said I was right about, them
Oh yeah,
testing
yeah,
it.
yeah. I heard that bringing Call of Duty HQ integration to Game Pass was a significant undertaking. I think like one of the things like when we talk about like we want Xbox to do more cool stuff for console gamers, work on things like achievements and fun stuff like 1 versus 100 or social features and improvements to the system, game DVR, whatever it is. I think a lot of the issues that we have with Xbox right now is because they're doing a lot of work when it comes to integration, software integration, and stuff like that. So, um, there's a there's a lot of development work that goes towards integrating something like Call of Duty HQ into the layer of entitlements that Game Pass offers, and also then tying that to the Microsoft Store, which we've also heard is a mess. And all this stuff is handled by different teams, different departments, and all that kind of stuff. So, part of it's like technical debt, I think, over time. Um, but I think, yeah, I think you're right that it is probably some kind of test. And I'd rather they test it and get it right over the summer with an older game than fuck it up on launch when
Yeah.
it comes to Black Ops 6. Because I haven't played Modern Warfare 3,
Mm-hmm.
really.
Okay.
And, Black Ops 6 is something that I would probably try out if I don't have to pay for it. And I'm sure that there'll be a lot of. I don't think they'll change people's habits. People who buy Call of Duty every year, it's part of their, part of the fun for some people is like, oh yeah, it's Call of Duty. This time of year is Call of Duty. It's like me with World of Warcraft expansion. Now it's World of Warcraft expansion time, and then it's like this is their Call of Duty expansion or whatever. I don't think they'll change those people's habits, but I think that Call of Duty will probably get a lot of curious people who didn't really give Call of Duty a fair shake, or they've dropped off Call of Duty for years and years and years, like myself. I think there'll probably be an influx of players there, maybe an influx of spending too. But I don't think they'll change the generalized habits. I don't think they'll switch anyone from PlayStation to Xbox for it, for example.
No, I don't. I don't.
But I do think
It
it'll
doesn't
be
actually
probably
make
the
any
biggest.
financial sense. If someone's on
No.
PlayStation and they don't have an Xbox, it doesn't make any sense for that person to buy a new console and then subscribe to Game Pass because, it would cost more money. Now, maybe you can make the argument at the start of a new generation. It makes more sense when people are deciding whatever piece of hardware they want to buy and invest more in. Maybe you could get more people to change their preferences on where they want to play Call of Duty, considering Call of Duty is fully cross-platform, so it doesn't matter if you're playing on Xbox or PlayStation. You can still team up with your friends no matter where they're at, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like 4 years into a generation, I don't really think there's going to be a lot of movement from people on the PlayStation side of things. Maybe it'd be people who have both and are like, all right, well, I'll see what it's like over there. I'll subscribe, but it's funny because I saw Charlie Intel was like, if you subscribe to Game Pass for Call of Duty, it will cost you $240 a year for a $70 game. And it's like, yeah, that's like saying if you subscribe to Netflix for Stranger Things, it'll cost you $200 a year. It's like there's like 500 games on the service, dude. But
Yeah, and all the other benefits like Valorant characters.
But
and
if it's for a person who only plays COD, yeah, okay, probably not the most financially sound thing to do. If like that's the only game you play, why would you subscribe, right? Because it doesn't make financial sense in that regard. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see
don't forget like the EA Play. EA Play,
EA
Bright
plays.
Games. Like
Yeah,
I've opened Game Pass now for PC, and there's a lot of stuff in here.
there's a lot of
Ubisoft
stuff.
has got a banner. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry 6. Like I haven't finished either of those.
You hate Far Cry.
Ghost Re. Yeah,
You do.
I like Far Cry 5. I hate Far Cry
Far Cry
6.
5 was so good. But I mean, we've seen how Game Pass can boost up player counts for other games, because I just saw an article that was Nickelodeon, the Nickelodeon Smash game that recently hit Game Pass. I'm not sure of the title, but it's like a Smash clone. It's with the Nickelodeon characters.
Mm.
That went up something like 3,000% players or something like that, or 3,400% increase in
Game
players
Pass.
or something with
Yeah.
Game Pass.
I mean, that probably just means there was nobody.
I mean,
playing
yeah,
it.
obviously there wasn't probably a lot of people playing it, but there are definitely people that will see and come to Game Pass and check it out. And what
They're building
franchise
up
is
a-
bigger than Call of Duty? So
Yeah.
you're probably going to see a lot of movement on that.
They're
It-
developing a separate audience with Game Pass, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like I don't think Game Pass necessarily gels one to one with a lot of the people here who like are maybe majorly into core games. Like I remember back in the day before Game Pass even existed, I had some documents from Microsoft where they identified the different types. Do you remember this, Rand? They identified they had like a pie chart where they identified different types of gaming habits.
yeah.
And like one of the gaming habits that was quite large were these so-called gray. I can't remember exact term, but I want to say they were called grazers. They were like people who would play multiple different games, maybe not even finish them, and just like mess around.
Sounds like you.
Yeah, maybe.
You're a grazer. Jez the
I'm a grazer,
grazer.
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But they were like, Game Pass could be for them, and these people, they want to play lots of different kinds of games, but potentially they're hamstrung by how much buying lots of different types of games costs. So maybe a service for them where they could just, all you can eat it, even if they don't necessarily finish everything. Maybe that would be an ideal scenario for them. Maybe they'd be really served well by that kind of service, even if like it's not a core thing and it's not something that takes over the whole platform. Because Microsoft always says that it's additive. Game Pass is additive. And and it has other benefits too, because we all know that Xbox isn't going to be able to compete head on with Steam. Like there's no universe that exists where Microsoft could like make a PC game store that tries to beat Steam like with exclusive games or anything like that. There's just no universe that exists where Microsoft could achieve that. But maybe like Game Pass gives them a vehicle to be like, well, we're not going to take Steam head on, but we can maybe build up an audience, a cohort of people who like playing games in this sort of way. Same with cloud gaming. I think having a variety of business models, a variety of audiences that are served in different ways, I think that's a good thing overall for the platform.
Yeah.
They just need to make sure that like we were saying earlier, that there's no one particular aspect of the platform that does get left behind. And I think like when a lot of Xbox fans who've been there from the beginning and put up with all the shit that we've had to swallow from Microsoft over the years, I think there is rightfully some disgruntled takes where it's like, well, what about us? Microsoft needs to be careful to sort of make sure that everyone feels well served in that universe. And I don't know, I think they will. I think they will figure it out.
We got iSilo with the $4.99. This is sinful, but I don't care about generations that almost 20 years old and Sony remaster stuff during PS4 and my gear's back and pat. I'm good. I mean, you're not the only one that feels like that, so. But let's talk about these the drama of the week, the Game Pass stuff. You were upset at it leaked.
Oh yeah.
When I sent you like the Wario tweet, like, oh, Microsoft is sending out emails to people about the price increase in the new tier, and Jez was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, because I was getting ready. I've been getting ready to share that for a little while.
Well,
And
the interesting thing is, I don't know if you remember, but we sort of talked about this back in May.
we did, and I sort of, I'd heard that something like this could happen, but I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to get it wrong, because getting something like this wrong is something you don't come back from. If I put an article out there saying Microsoft's going to increase their prices across all of their services, and then Microsoft's like, nope, that's not true. That's kind of almost career-ending fuck off. So I was like, I don't want to get this one wrong. If there's something I don't want to get wrong, it's this one. When it comes to putting out reports, anyway. I mean, I put opinions out all the time that end up being wrong, but I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah, most of your opinions are wrong, anyways. We don't mind.
But it's when it comes to reporting, you don't want to get that wrong. Because it affects shit like share prices and stuff like that. When you put out XYZ company's doing this and they don't do it, it's like, man, what are you trying to do? Manipulate share price? Like, I remember some reports from back in the day where it was claimed that EA or Take-Two were going to sell or buy someone or something or other, and then they had to come out and deny it, and it affected share prices and shit like that. So you have to be careful when you're putting out this kind of info when it comes to financial stuff. So I wanted to be absolutely sure before I put it out.
So when I said it in May, and you can Google it and you can say, search for Rand Thor 19 new Game Pass tier, and it'll come up, because we didn't mention it. And I said, hey, I think it was like Tom Warren's mentioned there might be a price hike. And I was like, yeah. And I also think there's a new tier coming, but I didn't know what it was. I will admit to you guys now, I was lying. I knew exactly what it was. But I'm not one to really leak the details of that. And then they announced Call of Duty was going to be day one on Game Pass in the console tier and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, well, maybe they're not doing this thing anymore. And they did anyways. So, yeah. I don't know. So, if you guys are under a rock, what happened this week was Microsoft announced price hikes to most, if not all, their tiers for Game Pass. And they got rid of a tier. And this new tier that is taking the console tier's place does not feature day one games. So there was a lot of drama this week with people's thoughts and opinions about this, especially when it concerns what does it mean about removal of day one. I've seen takes that say Xbox is about to collapse because of this. It's over for them to, hey, this is how they're going to make it actually work. I saw an interesting article from Chris String about it.
Some good takes on it, actually. Yeah.
But I've seen so many different hot takes, because when you get something like this, man, the hot takes will come out of the woodwork, and the people that don't play on the platform or don't have any investment in the platform will certainly tell you how they feel about this situation that doesn't affect them at all, right? So
it's almost as if there's no news to speak of with their chosen platform.
I thought it was funny because Jen of Hatred, as she calls herself right now, but Genbox360 had a really funny tweet where it said, Netflix price goes up, people are like, this sucks. Yeah, and it does suck when it happens. PlayStation price, PS Plus price goes up. This sucks. Yep, true. Xbox Game Pass price goes up. Curse you, Microsoft! I hereby vow you will rue this day. Your fear made flesh with the hail of harpoons. With every last drop of my being, you shall haunt me no longer. Grah!
You know what that's from, right?
No, I have no idea. What's that from?
So that is...
Is that from Diablo or something?
No. It's a new NPC in Elden Ring.
Oh, okay.
Goes mental and has this big speech before a dragon battle. It's become a meme. It's curse you, Bale, and it's become a huge meme. And the voice actors doing interviews and shit. So that's where that's from.
But it certainly did feel like that. Like, they're raising the price. The fuck,
yeah.
Right? Which like I said, nobody likes paying more for something that they've been, you've been like, hey, I've been paying $16 for Game Pass Ultimate. I mean, nobody wants to pay $19.99 suddenly for it, right?
No.
I mean, so like I mentioned earlier, I don't begrudge anybody if their financial situation suddenly determines that it's too expensive or they don't see the value in it. Here's the thing. A lot of people will tell you that it's too expensive or that it doesn't offer any value, right? Or that it offers so much value that you can't get rid of it. The thing is, only you can determine what the value is to you and if it's too expensive or not. It doesn't matter if some talking head on YouTube says things. It doesn't matter if I, give my opinion and whatever. But when it comes to that, like, only you can determine how you feel about it and if it offers the value it once did at a higher price point. And if you don't think it does, if you don't think the games are as good as you thought they'd be, or that they're taking too long to come out, or any sort of reasons, then unsubscribe, right? That's
the only
how it
that's
works.
the only thing Microsoft's going to listen to. Like if something is the microcosm of YouTube discourse ain't really something Microsoft listens to. It ain't really something any company really listens to, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the bottom line. And if the bottom line's being affected, that's when they'll listen. So if these changes are like terrible, if everyone unsubscribes, Microsoft will be like, oh, we really fucked up here. But I think the fact of the matter is most people realized that there was a price increase coming because everything's Netflix, Spotify, etc. have had a price increase. So people expected that.
Yeah.
And then with regards to, I think the fact that the console tier is losing day one games was blunted by the fact that people are grandfathered in. Like, if you're currently subscribed and you stay subscribed, then you get to keep your entitlement.
Yeah.
So Microsoft's like, if you enjoy that service and you want to keep using that service, then we will let you keep using that service. And then it's sort of like the argument that, well, if you are paying separately for Xbox Game Pass Core and Xbox Game Pass Console, you might as well upgrade to Ultimate anyway, because now it includes both. But I don't know. Only you can determine what the value is, And we talked here earlier on the show about how what our breakpoints are for when it costs too much, and there is definitely a limit that I would hit where I'd be like, well, I'm going to ditch Game Pass and just go back to Core because I don't use this enough to warrant how much this is starting to cost me. And I think a lot of people have a breakpoint like that. But the truth of the matter is, there's a ton of stuff, at least for me, there's a ton of stuff that's coming in Game Pass that I'm really interested in. I really like and value the cloud stuff. And I think it still offers great value for money at $20 a month, considering that Spotify costs the same amount and I use Spotify far less. And I would never consider quitting Spotify because when it's not there, I would be pretty annoyed about it. So yeah, I don't know. Everyone's got a different take on it. It's only you can determine whether it's worthwhile or not for you, and that's
So if you don't know what's going on here, we'll break it down. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate isn't getting any changes, but the price increase will be going from $16.99 to $19.99 here in the US. There's charts out there on the Xbox official support page that details the listings for every region, so you'd have to look that up to see what it's increasing in yours. So Game Pass for console is getting shuttered for new users only. So as of the 10th, you can no longer subscribe to Game Pass console. Game Pass console, I believe, was $10.99. And it had day one games in it. But Microsoft is also allowing the people who are currently subscribed, and if you have recurring billing on, to maintain that subscription, so you'll be able to get your day one games, to continue moving forward when Black Ops 6 comes out. If you're still paying for it, you'll be able to play Black Ops 6 day one, even though new users cannot sign up for that tier. PC Game Pass is getting a price increase from $9.99 to $11.99. It will also get day one games. Game Pass Core got an annual price increase from $59.99 to $74.99. And I know that's because PlayStation raised theirs on the PlayStation Plus Essential tier, which is their multiplayer access plus like a couple free games a month. That is specifically to match that price or to come close enough to it. So it's like, all right, well, they did it, so we're going to do it. And nobody seemed to care then, so we're going to do it too. As how it pertains to Game Pass console, if you do cancel it, you do lose the ability to then resubscribe to it. And then if you wanted to subscribe to the analog tier closest to it, it's this new tier called Game Pass Standard, which is now going to be $14.99, but the big thing about it is that it doesn't have day one games. It's got the whole library, but not day one games. And they added multiplayer to it, multiplayer access.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly address a question in chat from Crippling Debt, who says, can you still stack Ultimate 36 months after the 12th of September? The answer is no. From the 12th of September, you will lose the ability to stack Xbox Game Pass. Oh, actually, no. I'm wrong.
Just console.
You will just console. Yeah. So I think like you will still be able to stack Ultimate after the 12th, but you won't be able to stack console beyond 30 months. They want you to upgrade to Ultimate.
I mean, yeah, the whole thing here is all situated because when you look at what it's offering, you have Game Pass Core, which was formerly Xbox Live Gold, so that offers multiplayer access and like 30 games. And then you have the next tier up, which is Standard, that offers multiplayer access and, you know, the entire library of Game Pass. And then Ultimate's crazy because Ultimate offers multiplayer access, the whole library, day one games, cloud gaming, EA Play. It's like the value of Game Pass Ultimate is so overflowing compared to the other ones. So when you look at the other ones, it's just like, yeah, Ultimate's the better deal. And it's always been the better deal, even when they were at their base prices of $9.99 versus $14.99. Ultimate was always the better deal, mainly because everybody needs multiplayer access, and that included it. Oh yeah, and Ultimate also gets you PC Game Pass. I totally forgot about that, right? So it's like,
which I use.
That's clearly the tier Microsoft wants everybody to be at, right? Now, as for why they got rid of Standard, as for why there's a new tier without day one games. Now, Jez, and I think a lot of people in chat will remember these conversations we used to have, like last year or even earlier this year, when I said that if there was one thing Microsoft could play around with in the future, it's with day one games. I said like they could easily move those to Ultimate as a perk for subscribing to the highest tier. Because when you look at what it was offering, Microsoft has always positioned Xbox Game Pass as like, this is day one, right? At least when you compare it to something like PlayStation Plus, where that was never really sold to consumers as this is going to have day one games into it. But Microsoft sold Xbox Game Pass as, hey, this is where you're going to get day one games, from our titles to third-party offerings. This is what makes it different than our competitors' offerings. And that's one of the reasons why people view Game Pass so highly as they do, because you get offerings in there of $30, $40, $50, all the way up to $70 day one in the service. So people look at it like, man, if I only play a couple games, a few games here, the whole service pays for itself, right? Like Flintlock's coming out next week. That's a $40 game, or I think it's a $40 game. And that's day one in Game Pass. And if anyone playing that is like $40 save that they maybe would have spent on it, they could have saved on something else. Like Indiana Jones when it comes out later in the year, that's $70. Avowed, I think, is going to be 70. Well, we don't know what the Avowed pricing is, but we assume it's going to be that price. So if you just play a few of these things, they all add up over time, and you're like, all right, well, I actually saved money on this, and, you know, you would get your money's worth. And I always felt that for a company like Microsoft, they could always play around with the idea of being like, okay, well, we want everybody on Ultimate, so if we gave them a perk of this is where you get day one games, then that's something that they would consider, and it's eventually they did. And the reason for it, I think, and I think it's pretty apparent, is because you're about to have Call of Duty go in their day one really soon in October. And you're also about to have all these games that Microsoft showcased at the showcase, from the Fables to the State of Decays to the Dooms, all that sort of stuff. And I think they did this to offer a new tier without day one specifically to prevent people from subscribing to the service for a month at $10 and then playing these expensive games and then unsubscribing and getting out.
Yeah, potentially.
I mean,
but I think there is another aspect to this that I think people haven't considered, and that the tiers just didn't make sense before.
Sure.
It was weird that like you had a middle tier that was like, oh yeah, we've got a mid tier that doesn't include Xbox Live Gold, and if you're putting Call of Duty in the service, right, and Call of Duty is in the service, and it's like, oh, cool, I'm a new player to Xbox, and I've got Call of Duty, and I'm checking out Game Pass for the first time. This is awesome. And then you get in there, it's like, oh, hang on a sec, I need another subscription on top of this? You know, I think it's potentially more confusing for people. It depends ultimately on... I think it has to be... The tiers have to be, as you go further up the tiers, you get more stuff. Because it wasn't like that before. It was like, before it was like, you could have core and console separately if you wanted, you know, Xbox Live and then the console stuff, but without Ultimate because you didn't want the cloud or the PC stuff and all that kind of extra gubbins or whatever. It was confusing and kind of weird. So like, while it sucks that they've taken that option away in a sense, they kind of haven't for multiplayer games, because especially Call of Duty, because you still needed Xbox Live Gold to really get the most out of that experience. So I think the tiers make more sense in a sort of traditional subscription service context.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, as well, it's probably important to note that a lot of the people that work on Game Pass literally were poached from Netflix to develop the service. So they were probably like, look, this is a mess and it doesn't make sense. And, you know, when you upgrade to the tiers, you know, it's not a smooth transition up the level of features you get. But at the same time, they're like, well, you know, we're going to lose a lot of value if we give people everything in console. And I would argue that I would have liked to have seen that. I would have liked to have seen Game Pass Xbox Live Gold as standard. But the way the business model is currently structured is that Xbox Live Gold is a subsidization factor for the current generation of consoles. And the next generation of consoles might be different. Maybe the next generation of consoles are like, you know, more expensive, and they'll get rid of paying for Xbox Live Gold, you know, completely. And it'll just be like, yeah, it's a relic of the past. We're not going to do this anymore for this generation, and they're moving forward. Maybe the console will be a bit more expensive, you know, to avoid scenarios where they're not actually making any profit on the box or whatever. But Xbox Live Gold, the whole point of it was that it was so they could price the box more cheaply. But maybe we just passed that, you know, paradigm now. I don't know.
Really, I mean,
it is needlessly complex, but I do think it makes more sense when it's like the cheapest tier has the least features, the middle tier has more features, and then the ultimate tier has the most features. I think that's what makes the most sense. And I don't know. I do think, like, I still think, Rand, I genuinely believe in my bones, there is a future where Xbox Live Gold goes away and Xbox Game Pass Core goes away. I think that that future is still in view on the horizon, you know, because it just, if you are sort of like if you are losing a lot of players to PC, that's a big reason why. It's just the sort of the cheek of having to pay to use your own internet. Because it's not like Microsoft's operating all those servers for all those different games. Like EA's operating the servers for their games, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's no one can predict the future, and this service that Microsoft's sort of putting together it's a completely new paradigm, and they're experimenting with it. And you'll probably see Sony experiment with it as well. Like Sony was more conservative, and they're like, we're not gonna go head first into day one games because that might be, you know, disruptive to our business model. And maybe it has been disruptive to Microsoft's business model. Maybe it didn't work at that price point. But like a lot of the people who are like, oh, Game Pass doesn't work, you know, it's stupid, and this proves it. Are they gonna now be saying like, okay, well, they admitted it doesn't work and they changed it. Does it work now, or does it still not work now? Have the goalposts moved? You know,
Well, I think
so
I think what's happened is they've gone from strictly user acquisition mode to now we're more in our price points are now more in line for us to, I don't want to say like be more profitable or make more money, because they've always said Game Pass is profitable and all those sort of things. But then again, they also said during the FTC trial that they weren't going to raise prices of Game Pass during the because of the acquisition. So they say a lot of things, and then sometimes the opposite happens. But I mean, we all remember the days where you could sign up for $1 for 3 months, right? When they were trying to get as many users as they could into, sign up, you could get 3 months for whatever. And now here comes the big bad. Here comes, you know, Call of Duty, and they don't want you signing up for 3 months for $1 anymore. You know, no. Doom's coming, Fable's coming, all these other games are coming, and it's like, yeah, we can't really do that anymore. And what they probably view as user acquisition is more through the games themselves. Like, what is Call of Duty going to bring us? It's going to bring us a whole new suite of users. Well, those new users, we want them paying $20 a pop. But then also, okay, we're now on the Fire Stick. We're in cloud gaming. We have our own store. Remember their mobile store was supposed to open this month, or supposed to start this month? They haven't yet, I guess. But you know, PC, like, and I know, like, there's a lot of like, well, what is PC Game Pass? Why is it only $11.99? And, you know, the console user gets screwed. And I think that's simply just based off the fact that they still view that there's growth on the PC in comparison to console. So they don't want to get rid of day one games for the PC because they have all these games coming. Because if you like look at like, all right, Game Pass in totality is at 35 million. And if you say, where are all those subscribers from? I would say it's probably like 28 million console, 7 million PC. I think it's a really small number on the PC side. But then you look at everything the PC has and the number of users on it, they view it as like, all right, we can still grow here. Where on the console, because they're not selling that many anymore, they're like, the growth opportunity isn't there as much anymore. So we need to get the people who are paying us to pay more. It's like basically squeezing blood from a rock, right? We have these hardcore users that are going to pay this money. We need to get more from them. We need to prevent future users from coming in really cheaply to play these really expensive games. So we're going to make sure that if you're coming in here to play this something, we're getting what we feel is a good price for it. $20 to play this, right? I think it's all set up to be more you know, the word that sustainability. Game Pass is sustainable, but then they raise prices and do this. So is it really? I mean, who really knows? But I think it's set to be more financially lucrative than it was before. Because if they really were all about getting as many users as possible, there would be a deal for these new COD users to come in and join the service for $1 for 3 months. They get all these people to come in, but they're not doing it. They've stopped doing it. So what does that tell you? But now in the meantime, you have the perception of these changes. Game Pass is getting more expensive. People don't like that. They're going to, bitch and complain about it as people do with everything in their life getting more expensive. And the confusion of, okay, well, what is day one now? I need like a flow chart to determine what games get stuff. And can they still use play it day one on Game Pass in these showcases when Game Pass Core doesn't get it and Game Pass Standard doesn't get it, but Game Pass Console does, but you can't subscribe to it unless you're already subscribed to it, and Ultimate does and PC does. It's like people are like, oh, there's going to be all this confusion and stuff. And maybe it's just confusion because it's an initial change. But when like the terms of signing up are just here's Core, Standard, and Ultimate, it's going to be pretty simple to follow. And like currently, everybody who's already subscribed, nothing changes for them outside of I need to pay more for this, which we all hate. So like if you're on console, you can keep on subscribing. Now I do understand if you're on console that Microsoft kind of has you by the balls a little bit here. They're holding you a little hostage a little bit because they're like, hey, if you unsubscribe, not only are you losing that $10.99 deal, but you lose day one games, and then you'd have to jump all the way back up to Ultimate. So you better think twice. You better think twice about doing that. And that prevents people from like, hey, you know what? This month doesn't really have a lot of games for me. I'm going to save my $10, $11, what have you, and I'll rejoin in a month later. I'm not saying
a lot of people will fluctuate between Core and Ultimate probably. I think like from what I've been told, the vast majority of people are already on Ultimate anyway, which is why I don't think amongst Xbox fans, I don't think the backlash has been anywhere near as big as it has been from people who don't play on Xbox, because most Xbox fans are on Ultimate anyway, and they don't really see how this is going to affect them negatively beyond the price increase, right? I'd be interested to know in chat if any of you guys are actually on console, or how many are on Core and how many are on Ultimate. So, maybe Rand can drop a poll.
There was subscription. I think you can make a poll. No,
I don't think mods can make polls.
Well, they changed it. They had like new mods where it's like managing mods or whatever, standard ones. Let me make a poll here.
I can't make a poll. You might need to
live chat. I'm gonna make a poll. So I just ask people what tier they're on.
Yeah. Okay. No tier, Core, console, Ultimate.
Start a poll. All right.
I doubt there's many people on PC.
Xbox Game Pass tier are you subscribed to right now? Okay, we got Xbox. We got Ultimate. We have console. We have Core. Right, Core's an option.
Yep.
And you don't want the PC option, so should I just say?
Oh, you could add PC if there's
there's 4 options, but do you want an option where they're not subscribed?
Oh yeah, we should add that option.
Not currently not subscribed, I guess. Sub. Or I'll just have that as like the PC tier, not subscribed, or just PC only. I mean, you can only do 4, so this kind of just PC only. All right, here you go. I'm interested to see what this tier comes like, because I think the FTC trial, I think they mentioned that Ultimate, for the people subscribed on console, Ultimate was like 80%. So yes. The vast majority of people were already subscribed to the highest tier anyways, and it's because I mentioned before, it was the best deal. It literally gave you everything. Like, why wouldn't you subscribe to it?
Yeah.
So, Yeah. I
It
don't
needs
know.
more perks though. I think it does need more perks.
It does need more perks.
I want battle pass skips for Overwatch and Diablo and stuff. That's what I want in there.
Well, they should. I mean, they're their own games. They need to be stuff for Call of Duty, for Diablo, for Overwatch.
Yeah.
You know, you need to get all that stuff ready and to go, essentially for the launch of the Black Ops 6.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. This whole thing, I mean, change is this is a big change. I don't know. What do you think about the people that say like, "Oh, this is it. This proves Game Pass is dead or dying or never worked in the first place?" Or
Well, my argument would be like, well, doesn't them putting the price up admit that they needed to do something to make it work? And does it not work now? Are you saying that Microsoft can't like do math? Because I don't think Microsoft I don't think this is a loss leader for them. I think this is literally like it's a profitable segment of the business that they wanted to make sure would remain profitable when factoring in Call of Duty and how it could impact Call of Duty and stuff like that. I think like I would trust Microsoft's math over some random YouTuber personally or a blogger or whatever you want to say. But maybe I'm naive. Maybe they are dumb. Maybe they're using high school math people. But if you go on Microsoft's website and look at like job vacancies and stuff, they all want you to have a degree. Even for like low level roles, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, you better be have a degree and be college educated, or you ain't doing shit here. So,
I mean, even for me personally, like I mentioned this in my video I made, but about the price, even the price hike is I'm locked into Ultimate until 2027. It's like I have it stacked 3 years, so I won't even personally see a price increase until at that point in time.
Yeah, that's the other thing. A lot of people have it stacked. I think I've got it stacked as well. So I won't see a price increase either. It's like getting a mortgage. I've got a locked in fixed rate.
Yeah, got it locked in, and I mean that's just how it. I've always sort of done it. Like, all right, well, I need some things, and you go find some cheap, Amazon Prime Day is coming. I'm sure they might have it on sale, or people always post sales of like, oh, get Game Pass for this. It's like, all right, let me go get this stuff. And they let you stack it for 3 years. So, you always knew that the prices weren't going to stay at those base levels forever.
Yeah.
They have increased it pretty quickly though, because this is the second price increase in, I want to say a year, because they increased it last year. But it was a small increase. It was $1 for console, and it was $2 for Ultimate. And I want to say that was around August of last year, if I'm not mistaken, right around that time frame.
Yeah, maybe.
And then, July, here we are, and they're increasing it. They introduced Standard, which is, essentially console, but from $10.99 to $14.99. They increased the annual subscription of Game Pass Core to match PlayStation's, and then Ultimate goes up by 3. So this is more changes, and maybe it would look at differently if it was just a price increase versus, okay, we're actually dropping a tier and getting rid of Day One games, because Day One was how the service was sold to everybody. So this feels like a bigger change than this feels like a core change because of how they've always advertised and sold Game Pass in comparison to other, subscriptions. Like, it was always about Day One games. And it's like, oh, well, you're getting rid of a tier of Day One games? What does that mean? What does that say? Is it not working for you? And it's like, well, it's just, I wouldn't say it's not working, but I think they want people to, they have all these games coming. It's like, now you're going to pay for all this stuff. We don't want people accessing these games, because I know some people that would be like, they would come and they brag in my DMs like I would care, being like, I just played all these games for $10. Now I'm out. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not Microsoft. I'm not losing. What do you mean? But now if you want, $20 is a little bit more expensive than 10. So I guess they want their money now.
And I've been told that the vast majority of people, once they subscribe, they don't unsubscribe. There's not a lot of people who are like switching between subscribing and unsubscribing. That's like a minuscule amount of, people, frankly. But at the end of the day, as long as the service is viable and sticks around and people like using it, I think it's a good thing overall. It's a great content fund for indies. I think it lets people try games out that never would have tried otherwise, discover games, game discovery engine, and also a content engine for, helping smaller teams cash flow their business. With getting some upfront investment funded by the sub in exchange for some exclusivity. It probably leads to games coming to Xbox that would never have come otherwise. I saw stuff like Octopath Traveler benefited from being in Game Pass. I'm not sure Octopath Traveler would have done a huge amount of interest without it being on Game Pass, personally. But I don't know. We can't live in a universe where it's like, what does it look like where Game Pass exists, and what does it look like where Game Pass doesn't exist? We can't imagine that universe. So we just have to sort of deal with the data we've got right now. And I think one thing's for sure is that Game Pass will continue to be something people FUD over and use for, clickbait and, debate endlessly over and stuff like that. I think it'll continue to be that for a lot of people. But I think it'll also continue to be a great service for a lot of people who want to save money and want to be active in gaming. And I do think, like, as well, that the family plan should come back. And
we got a couple super chats about that. Artemis with the 2 says, whatever happened to the family and friends plan? And Meat Puppet with the 10 says, do you think Xbox will bring back like a family version of Game Pass? So that kind of ties into what you're saying here. So what were you mentioning about friends and family? Jez?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, it'd be cool if, friends and family plan could come back.
I don't think it's dead.
And also,
I don't think it's dead.
Is that one of your Randall predictions again?
No, it's not. It's not. I'm not feeling the wavelengths on this one too greatly at the moment, but I don't think it's as dead as maybe we've been led to believe, or at least what it seemed to be. Because it's been a while since they did it, and then they stopped doing it. I think maybe even with the price increases, maybe that helps a little bit. Now that maybe they can price it higher than, because before it was on the cheaper end, but now they raise prices so that it would have to be more expensive. Maybe that works better for some third parties, because I think there was some issues with some third parties didn't want it whatsoever. But I don't know. I just don't think it's 100% dead. Maybe it comes back in some form in the future. As what that form would be, I'm not sure, but because we've been talking about it for a while, and it's just like, I think we both were like, I think it's dead. I don't think it's ever coming back. But
well, what I heard was publishers weren't happy with how it could potentially affect some of their games.
Okay.
So publishers wanted more assurances from Microsoft that like, that it wouldn't be abused and all that kind of stuff, and what's in it for them kind of thing. Because if you're moving from like individuals getting used to not having to pay for games, and then to entire families getting used to not having to pay for games, like there's some nerves about that, I presume, right? So I heard that some of the pushback was from publishers. I don't know exactly what their concerns were. I only have to speculate about that. But hopefully these are concerns that Microsoft can either work through or fund, or they've got data from the test run they did in Ireland and was it Colombia? I think they did a test run in Colombia. I want to say Colombia. I can't remember exactly. But one of it was in the Republic of Ireland, and they did a test run, and they would have got a ton of data from how it affected habits and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think they do want to I think they do eventually want to have a family plan, personally. But the whether or not that happens remains to be seen. I also think they want to have a cloud-only subscription, based on what I'm hearing. So I think like you can expect more tiers from Game Pass. One's probably a family plan. One's probably a cloud-only tier. and then we'll end up in a sort of
What about an
a unit.
ad-only tier? What about a cheap
Well,
Netflix-styled ad-only one?
I think one of the issues with ads is that Google has basically a monopoly on video ads. Like even Amazon struggles to get video ad buy-in sometimes. Like sometimes I go on Amazon Prime and I've only got the ad-supported version of Prime, right? I got the ads supported version of Prime, and the only ads I get in the UK are ads for Amazon Prime. Like they don't have anyone buying their ads, and that's Amazon. Like Google has a monopoly on video ads. And that's a big issue. And this was a big issue for Mixer because if you remember, Mixer's entire lifespan, they did simulated ad revenue because they had no ad buy-in whatsoever. And Microsoft has a big issue with getting video ad buy-in. And I know that their video ads platform on Bing and whatever has grown, and they do report that in their sort of their SEC filings that they have a whole section about their video ads business and the Bing ads and whatever. And it is growing, but it's just Google has such a huge monopoly there, and you know, TikTok and Facebook as well. Like they have like all the monopoly. So, well, I do think they probably aspire to have an ad tier. I imagine it will probably be on the cloud. Like while you're waiting for the cloud game to load up, you see an ad play or something. So maybe there'll be two cloud tiers where it's like an ad supported tier on cloud where you have to watch an ad first before your game loads, which is a bit cheaper. And then like maybe moving into a premium tier where you don't have to watch an ad play and it's just you go straight into the game. Maybe that's the tier that has 4K bitrate, because that's another thing xCloud doesn't have is the 4K bitrate thing, or 4K resolution. Sorry, and you know Nvidia also has like way better bitrate in general and higher quality streams, and so maybe like there's a higher tier of cloud that could do that. Like, there's probably a whole separate business model that could do with cloud, and but I think, you know, again, it's development time and they've got a lot of work to do across the whole business right now. It's all just, you know, development hours, having the time to do it, and we'll see where it goes,
Well,
how long it takes.
King Chaos says, do you think this new price will inhibit new customers, which is what is needed to grow so it won't remain stagnant?
I would assume Microsoft's done the math on this and, you know, trying to make sure that the price is still viable for them and they can still send money to devs who are in the service and all that kind of stuff, while also, you know, having a sort of still be appealing when it comes to value. I would imagine that Microsoft did the math, and if you remember, I put a poll out because when we started first hearing about this, I actually put a poll out. I think this was in May or June. I put a poll out. How much would you pay for a Game Pass? And I think people did say like, hang on, I can try and find the poll here. Did you remember I put a poll out about this?
I do recall, but I'm not sure what the numbers were.
You pay for Game Pass, Jez Corden. Let's see if I can find a poll here. See how good Twitter's stuff is. Pay Game Pass, Jez Corden. No, I can't find it. Nah, it's just gone.
Well,
Man, it's putting up tweets from 2020 and stuff.
I mean, it could inhibit new users, new customers. I mean, because you can't beat $1 for 3 months, but at the same time, I think it's going to be, like I said, the games that bring people in, like Call of Duty, and that's where you're going to see the growth is off of like that stuff. They're no longer going to be doing the really cheap way of getting people in and be like, play this, you know, a month for free and get all this sort of stuff. So I get what you mean by it won't remain stagnant, because if it does remain stagnant, well, then you have a different conversation a year from now. If Game Pass a year from now is still at 35 million after a brand new Call of Duty is dropped, then there's probably going to have some very tough conversations at Microsoft about it, where it's like, dude, we just dropped the biggest game we've ever made into Game Pass and it didn't do anything. You're probably going to have a lot of uncomfortable conversations at that point about what to do.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, is this actually a new user play, or is it more of a like get Game Pass players playing Call of Duty when they might not have otherwise played it play? Because Diablo, for example, Game Pass is like they said this during Summer Game Fest that uh they said this during Summer Game Fest that Diablo's number one sort of acquisition model now is Game Pass, and that's without the cloud and all that stuff. That means like that's a lot of potentially new players who wouldn't have played it otherwise, and that's after a year. So you have to presume that like all those people who weren't hyped about Diablo checked it out and then got addicted to it when it was in this sort of free to play esque mode. Because like that's what Game Pass potentially does, is make it like the barrier to entry so low if you're a subscriber that you can just check it out without having to consider like, wow, this is $70. Can I really justify this? And then it almost functions like a free to play game where it's like, oh well, I didn't have to pay $70 for this, but now I can spend money on the DLC. And we know that people do this because when they took Forza Horizon off the store, Microsoft had a whole program where they were like, if you bought DLC for Forza, but you didn't actually own the game because you played it in Game Pass, we'll give you a free copy of it. I would presume like they'd do that for Diablo as well if Diablo ever left the service for whatever reason. Maybe the FTC wins their court case, man. We lose everything. Oh, man. One thing I'm really pissed about, Rand?
What? What are you mad about?
No Diablo in cloud. Because of fucking Ubisoft and the CMA.
Yeah.
No Diablo in cloud. The one game I wanted in cloud more than anything is not there because of the UK CMA. It's insane, man.
It is. Ryan Hodgin was at 5 says, hey, I was going to do the trick to where you can carry over your Game Pass Core if I buy 3 years Game Pass Core and 1 month Ultimate to upgrade. Would that still work? Thanks. I think it works, but I think the conversion is lower, isn't it? The conversion rate?
It's 3 to 2.
Yeah, so you won't get as much now as you would have gotten when you were first able to do it, but I still think you can do it. Although I would really research that before you make a decision. But I still think it works. iSiler with the $4.99. My only beef with sub is paying to have cloud storage PSN. It's so weird. Feels like an oversight. I agree. This cloud storage stuff is kind of weird on PlayStation.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it because I've dabbled with PSN for cloud sometimes. And I couldn't believe it where it's like, oh, you're going to lose access to your cloud saves if you unsubscribe. And I'm like, people talk about holding you hostage. PlayStation's holding your cloud saves hostage with that shit. At least Microsoft, like, that's sort of a given for Microsoft and it's free. I'm really grateful for that because I use the cloud saves a fucking lot. The one thing that bugs me about cloud saves, though, is that there's no indicator telling you that the save is synced, which has led to me having sync issues many times over and over again because I turned off my Xbox too fast because I don't leave it in standby because it pumps out volcano levels of heat when it's turned off. Man.
JD Gamer at the 10. Xbox is holding the line for the Xbox users that held the line for them, the early adopters. For them, they get to keep what they had, but those naysayers and Johnny-come-latelys, they get to pay for Ultimate. That sounds like something King would say.
It's King's Ult.
No, JD Gamer is not King's Ult, but that sounds like something King would say about this.
Have you ever seen them both in the same room?
Maybe. But, I mean, yeah, it's good PR. In a whole string of like bad PR where you're raising the price and then getting rid of a tier, it is good PR to be like, well, the people who are on console can still retain, because that'd be even worse PR if the opposite happened of like, oh, by the way, anyone who was on console tier, y'all booted from it. And where do they put them? You can't put them on standard because the standard tier doesn't exist for another 2 months. Do you automatically upgrade them to Ultimate and increase their how much they're paying? Like, do you automatically move them up a tier? Maybe this is something like they had to do, where it was like, well, because this new tier is not existing for 2 months, and these people are paying this, like, and we couldn't move them up a tier. It just is smart It is just a smart decision to be like, no, you get what you have.
Yeah.
But then the thing is, my question is, how long do you get to have it for?
Well, you can stack it up to 30 months.
No, but I'm saying at some point,
Do
say
you think they'll pull it?
2026, I could easily
I think
see them pulling it.
didn't they? I think they did. Didn't they say that they are planning to pull it
I don't
in the
think they
support
did.
page?
I don't think they did.
I think it might be eventually sunsetted. I mean, I could see that, but I don't think I just don't think there's that many people on it.
No,
You know?
we know there's not that many people on it. But I mean, it's nice for the people on it, as long as they stay subscribed, that they can continue to keep it.
Yeah,
You know, so
I agree.
it is a small thing, but is a meaningful thing. I just don't know what they would have done if they had decided, all right, everybody on consoles, you're booted. Right? Or like, oh, you will keep you on console until standard comes, and then we're gonna transfer you to standard, and you're gonna lose your games. Like, imagine how that would be. Like, I'm losing my day one games and I didn't do anything. Like, that's a bad headline. At least now it's like, oh, if you have it, you keep it, and it's just new users. It's just new users. Because I think you had an interesting, you were talking to people online when this was all going down, and it was like, you know, are you more concerned about a mythical future Xbox user that may or may not exist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people who were mad about it. Like, I'd literally message them on Twitter, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, this sucks! It's ruined! Everything sucks!" And I'd be like, "What tier are you on?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm on Ultimate." You know, it's like, well, why are you upset then? And it's like, I'm upset for the future users. They're gonna be confused. And it's like, so, you know, I really think some people just want to be mad.
Of course.
But I think I also heard from some people that are people who duck in and out of console,
Mm-hmm.
and this is going to impact them. And they're the people that I think they have a reason to have a gripe, you know. But like, if but for the people who just want to FUD and be mad on the internet, because we're all addicted to being mad on the internet, apparently. I don't know. I just gloss over that kind of discourse these days. I've got to a point where I just don't care as much, bro.
Mm.
Just don't care as much, bro.
Yeah, what else has been going on this week? Xbox spam messages. Have you been getting any of this stuff? Has anybody in chat been getting these Xbox spam messages? I got one when I was playing Cyberpunk. It was the first one. I was like, what is this? And it was a message from somebody that said they wanted to buy my account at the price it was on some website or something.
Yeah, I've had messages like that. I've had messages where it's like, "Oh, can I buy your gamer tag?"
Yeah,
You know, because I've got a 3-letter gamer tag, which apparently is
it's sought after,
valuable.
dude. Yeah.
Valuable. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird. It's weird, bro.
And I saw some of the tweets about like, oh hey, I have this extra gift card, and I want to give it to you, but you have to go log in here to do it. It's like
yeah, right.
and the thing
Good
is,
luck,
like
bro.
they message so many people, it has to work on somebody at some point down the line, right?
Well, they just use bots to do it.
Well,
so, like,
sure, but I mean,
for
it's
them, it's like no.
But if nobody ever did it, then there's no. There's nothing. If nobody ever fell for it,
I see what you're saying.
somebody's got to fall for it.
So people do fall for it, I guess.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you get these spam messages, just ignore them, delete them, block them, report them. This isn't the first time there's been like spam messages about stuff.
Yeah.
But I did see that a message. I thought it was a real message. I was like, this person wants to buy my account, but go to this website, and I was like, and then I saw it online. It was like, no, this is spam. This is just a phishing thing. Not like I would ever sell my account anyways, but I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, okay, weird.
Weird shit.
What else we got here? City Skylines 2 is delayed on console again, Jez. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did.
That's
It's a bit of a mess on PC, so
yeah.
and that's where most of the users are, so that's where they're prioritizing the fixes. It makes sense, you know. It sucks as a City Skylines fan waiting for the console version, because City Skylines 1 on Xbox was so well done. The controller controls they did for that game were absolutely, you know, exemplary. You know, like they were example to be followed. They're really, really well done. So like, I was really, and I did try City Skylines at Gamescom last year, and I thought it was like, oh well, a year more of the dev time on this, and it'll be sitting pretty, but um, apparently not. It's missing a lot of features, and this is one of the issues that Paradox games often have. Is that Paradox, like, they're kind of notorious for doing shitloads of post-launch DLC features, whether it's free features or micro DLC features and stuff like that. And City Skylines 1 obviously has like millions and millions and millions of packs to sort of enhance the game, add facilities, adds different kinds of buildings and different kinds of meta gameplay and stuff like that. So when you come up with a sequel that is missing all of those features, it's kind of like, damn, it feels like a big step backwards from the original. Like Payday 3 had this issue as well. I think Overwatch 2 suffered from this to some degree because we're all sold on the idea that, oh, the whole point of Overwatch 2 is that we get in a PvE mode, and the PvE mode never materialized. So that's one of the issues. City Skylines getting it up to par on PC, and I suppose once they've done that, maybe we'll see console ports of PlayStation and Switch 2 and Xbox down the line, but. Paradox is cooked lately, man. Like they've had loads of issues at Paradox, and they're one of the publishers that's kind of struggling to navigate this. I don't know, this post-pandemic stagnant entertainment economy. I think a lot of companies during the pandemic sort of overcooked themselves, and they were like, "Oh, this level of engagement we're seeing right now, this is gonna last forever. We get all these new gamers we've gotten because everyone's stuck at home. They're gonna be here with us forever." And then, like when the pandemic ended, a lot of those, Johnny come latelys, as someone in the chat said, they bailed and never came back. So, I just suppose it is what it is, right?
Indeed. Now this news kind of excites me a little bit, mainly because of the franchise it's based around. But apparently, the BioShock devs of Cloud Chamber are recruiting like mad for the game. I think there's like 30 open positions for it.
Oh, that makes me
so
sexually aroused.
I mean, the game's been a long time coming. We've been waiting a while. So if they finally, because there was some talk that it's been in development hell and they couldn't figure out what they wanted it to be or whatever, but if they're recruiting like crazy now, maybe they figured it out finally of what they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And BioShock's one of my favorite franchises, so hopefully we see it in the next couple years. I mean, I'm still waiting on the Splinter Cell remake that they announced, and I think that's been 3 years now at this point. And
You're going to be waiting as long as the Beyond Good and Evil fans.
Give me Splinter Cell. Why? I just want to see a Splinter Cell remake. Come on.
How long has the Beyond Good and Evil fans been waiting?
Oh god, dude, it's been
a decade.
2008, 2009. I forget when that very first trailer. Not the second one where like was CGI. The very first one, where it was. I still remember watching it where it was Jade was running through like the alleys and the streets, and people were like, "What is this?" And then it said Beyond Good and Evil 2, and people were like, "Holy shit!" But yeah, that was such a long time ago. And then they had that other trailer, which was still years ago at this point, and nothing since. But they just released Beyond Good and Evil 2 20th anniversary edition. Which includes something that ties into the new game.
A new quest, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever play the original?
I did play. I have no idea. Evil, yeah.
I've got no idea what kind of game it is. Can you explain just briefly?
Oh god, it's been a long time.
Is it an RPG? Is
no,
it an
open world no. Yeah, it's more of an action adventure game kind of thing.
Like Assassin's Creed-y? Like a Ubisoft?
Well, dude, this is like a GameCube, PS2, Xbox game. I mean, I forget what. I think I played it on the GameCube. So before that generation of consoles.
It's wild they're kind of even bringing it back, considering how old it is.
I mean, it was obviously a cult hit, right? Yeah, I remember you played as Jade, and your dad was a pig, PJ. And it's kind of
figuratively or literally.
No, like he was your adopted father or whatever. I think. Right. You could take pictures going around. I remember taking pictures of like some of the enemies and even the wildlife. There was kind of like I wouldn't say it's an open world, but you could get into this like boat that you could drive around and stuff, but like the on foot missions were all very more linear, action adventure-y. Dude, it's been such a long time since I've played that game.
Intriguing.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, they ported it to the 360 and PS3, I think, as like Xbox Live arcade game. And then I think there was another version of the game. And then there's this version, the 20th anniversary. And all the other versions I think are delisted now or are no longer available. And it's just this one. So, God, it's been such a long time since I played that game. My memory of it is probably not very good.
Special Nick in chat is upset.
Yeah, I know, because they're supposed to be doing Xbox era. So I told him I would be joining in progress. Hey, blame Jez, Nick. We were supposed to do the show yesterday, but Jez couldn't because he had family members over. Pal World and Sony are working together, Jez.
Yep, Sony Music Group, right?
Yeah.
They've licensed the rights to develop the franchise beyond the games.
Mm-hmm.
Could it become a genuine Pokemon competitor? It's kind of funny, like if Microsoft still had its Xbox Entertainment division, maybe they could have done it, but I think Microsoft's got the expertise in house.
Yeah, but I think maybe they want to make animes, and if you're going to make animes, you got to work with Sony because they own Crunchyroll and all the other stuff, right?
Yeah, and do they not? Some anime fans in chat probably know. Don't Sony own some of the big animation studios now as well? So yeah, I mean it makes complete and total sense. I just wonder, like, how is it going to be like adult themed? Because there's some pretty risque stuff in Power World. Yeah, like the sexy Pokemon that wants to sleep with your character and stuff, like that. I still call them Pokemon, even though they're pals. I still call them Pokemon. I can't help it. Sorry, Bucky. Power World's community manager. Yeah.
Yeah, so Power World did get its new update, right? Well, not that long ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and it went back to 100,000 concurrent players, I think.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's doing pretty well.
I mean, it's obviously never going to get back to the 2 million it had. That was just a flash in the pan.
Insane.
I mean, even a game like Helldivers 2, which was doing really good for really long, is starting to really kind of lose its shine.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I mean, I think Helldivers needs some kind of big expansion-y kind of thing. Like, this happened to Deep Rock Galactic as well. Like, Deep Rock Galactic, like, dropped off when it blew up when it launched, and then dropped off, and then gradually over the years, it's become a massive tour de force, with really dedicated fan base. I think Helldivers will probably go through a similar cycle where they keep updating it, and then it becomes something really, really big and special with a very dedicated, passionate fan base. I just hope that Sony allows it to become that and doesn't pull the plug, That's why I really think they should just destiny it, put the game on Xbox, Sony should really swallow their pride and put that game on Xbox. It has Xbox all over it, written all over it, that game does. And if people aren't really that interested in playing it on PlayStation, like, I know a whole console of places, people that probably would play it. It's like that whole ODST fantasy, like, literally in game form. Like, if Sony doesn't port it, Microsoft should definitely rip it off. Oh man, a lot of people are holding out hope that it could come to Xbox, but I really, personally, my opinion is, I just heavily doubt Sony would do that. But who knows, man? We live in strange times.
They're not putting the Lego game on there, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, but if you were to say, well, maybe Lego doesn't fit, but Helldivers would.
Helldivers sure as hell fits Xbox, and I think if Sony doesn't, Microsoft should just rip the concept off.
But some games just aren't. Here's the thing: like, some games just aren't meant to continue on forever as a live service at high clip of numbers, right?
Maybe.
That's why, like, Concord, which is having its big open beta this week, even though a lot of the impressions I see, some people are saying it's pretty good, and other people are saying it's whatever. It's also $40, game in a sea of free-to-play titles just like it that are more popular and will, have their audience. So it's like, will that game reach its audience, or are people going to be like $40 for multiplayer? Do they expect multiplayer to be free now? And Helldivers at least had the thing, well, it's a co-op game, and they sold over 12 million copies, so don't be sad for them if their game's not getting a lot of players, because they made their money, and they made a lot of money. It's the best-selling game of the year so far. Yeah. But then, something like that, where, Helldivers is a little bit more unique in the space, where, Concord looks more derivative of other games, and it's more entering into a saturated market where it's like, well, how's that one going to play out? So
yeah. I've seen pretty mixed reactions to Concord. I mean, yeah,
I don't know.
That's not coming to Xbox, all right? Concord.
No, I have zero interest.
I always
Concord.
I always get Yeah, I know, but I always get Concord mixed up with Marathon for some reason.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's never going to compete with like Overwatch or Valorant. So I did
see Matt Piscatella posted the U.S. Cicana numbers again. Sea of Thieves still doing pretty strong.
Sea of Thieves just had their Sea of Thieves Fest.
Sea of Thieves Fest.
Yeah, literally around the corner from my house.
Oh, that's cool.
It's literally up the road, and there was a lot of people there. That event is growing steadily every year, growing a little bit more every year.
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima was number one because they released it on PC. As far as the Xbox release, Hellblade 2, I think it was like 32 overall in the overall charts, but on the Xbox charts it was number 21 for sales. But they also have one for engagement, and in the engagement chart it was like number 12, like one spot behind Fallout 76. So that you talk about, like, we've had this discussion before, but like, what do you do a sequel to Hellblade? Do you make a Hellblade 3 and hope that people suddenly care about the franchise? I don't know.
I really think
are those good numbers?
3,
I don't know.
If they do a Hellblade 3, it needs to be more of a game. I'm sorry, there's just no.
And it's not Hellblade. You might as well just call it a new IP then.
No, I disagree. There's just not a the game has combat in it. It could easily translate to a more traditional combat-oriented linear action game. There's literally nothing holding that back but pride. There's nothing holding that back but pride. I'm sorry. There's no reason they can't do that transition. And I think there's no market for a high-quality walking simulator. I just don't think there's a market for that, even with Game Pass supporting it. I think it's just the reality they need to face up to. When you make a game where the first thing you do for the first like 20-30 minutes of the game is just walk, I think you've lost sight of what a game is, personally. Not to sound harsh, but
you are harsh. You're very harsh. You're harsh in my mellow, bro.
Harsh in your mellow?
Yeah.
Your marshmallow.
No, I mean, realistically, I think they should just, if you want to go that route, they should make something like that, but don't call it Hellblade. Just new IP. So there's
I think Hellblade has legs. The character has legs. The universe has legs. It's just the genre is wrong. If you're gonna make a walking simulator, it needs to be a good walking simulator, and there are better walking simulators. Yeah, there are.
Like what?
Like Life is Strange, for example.
I wouldn't. I mean, isn't Life is Strange more of like a detective game rather than? I mean, I understand that you're walking around, but it's a different style.
Not really. I mean, it's like mostly walking around and talking to people and experiencing a story with a bit of interaction on the side, and the bit of interaction on the side in that is detective work, or a bit of interaction on the side in Hellblade is combat, occasionally. It's like teasing you. It's like, oh look, we can do this really great combat, but you're only going to experience it 3 times. It's the most frustrating game in history for me, personally.
All right, what about this quote, where the CEO of Larian said that if they didn't get to work on Baldur's Gate 3, that the 2 other franchises he would like to have worked on were Ultima and Fallout.
I mean, it's always nice to, do.
And I guess the question is, Do you want Larian to work on a Fallout game?
I wouldn't mind see Larian work on a tactics Fallout game. I would not mind that at all.
What if they are?
But I highly doubt it.
Yeah, probably not, right?
I wouldn't mind seeing it, but I just
But
can't see it happening.
what if they were though? Like what if a couple years from now we get Fallout Tactics and it's made by Larian? Because we know they're not working on Baldur's Gate anymore, right? So they're working, and I think they said they're working on two. They're working on 2 projects. I think they've said. Like, wouldn't it?
I highly doubt. I
know, but Jazz, just believe, Jazz. Just
no, I refuse.
You refuse. You don't want to get your You don't want to get your hopes up. I'm just saying, how would you feel watching the showcase and it's like, here's a new Fallout game and it's made by Larian, the people who made Baldur's Gate 3. Wouldn't you just be so happy and elated? Tell me about that day. Tell me about how you would feel, Jazz.
I mean, it depends, right? If they call it Fallout Tactics, I don't think it'll sell because I think people have a very specific idea about what tactics is. I think it needs to be like they need to call it, I don't know, Fallout RPG, or like, or just actually just give it a name, like Fallout the city that it's based in.
Fallout.
I don't know.
St. Louis.
Fallout St. Louis, yeah, something like that.
Fallout UK. There you go. Take it overseas.
Fallout London.
By Larian. There you go.
Yeah. I think they said they'd never do Fallout outside of America because it's the Americana is kind of the brand, but they could do like Fallout Chicago or something like. But it'd have to be an RPG.
Fallout Texas.
Fallout. I don't know. They do a lot in the desert. They need to. I don't know. They could do Fallout Seattle or something.
Yeah, when I saw that, I actually thought of you. I'm like, oh man, Jazz would probably absolutely love a Fallout made Larian game.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about it because it's like, well, I'll just get my hopes up for nothing because I doubt it's ever going to happen. But,
well, with that, let us move over to these Patreon questions. Make sure if you guys are enjoying the show to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. So, we have Forda Brand. It says, what's up, you beautiful fellas, and happy Friday. Saturday. I just wanted to ask about the handheld again. Do you think Microsoft will develop a disc tray, external of course, so we can play physical 360 games on the go? Thanks again. Thank you guys again. Have a good weekend, and as a Canadian, I'm dying from the current heat wave this week. Hopefully it cools down. And I think an easy answer to that question is no.
Yeah.
No.
I can't see external disk drives being anything. I think the whole concept of disk drives is just gradually fading away.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's gonna have
But
to.
you'll probably be able to play your back and Pat 360 games if you own them digitally.
If you own them digitally, then yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
digital is the way it's gonna be. But I think disc, the writing on the wall for discs is not so spicy. So,
Laser Wolf. What's a genre of games you've always been curious about but never really tried out? A genre of games.
That's a really interesting one. I suppose like this is kind of cheating in a way. But one genre of games that I have used to play but dropped off really hard is the WWE games.
Okay.
So I played the WWE games on N64 and, like No Mercy and then WCW, Revenge, NWO Revenge, I think it was called. I loved NWO Revenge. Like I never even watched WCW, but I loved NWO Revenge. And it was like, oh, Hulk Hogan's in it, So like I'm kind of curious to try the new WWE games now that I've really gotten back into it. I watched Money in the Bank this past week. Amazing pay-per-view. The product is so good right now.
Premium
and that's kind
live
of made
event
me
is what they call them, Jez.
What?
Premium live event.
Anymore?
No, because you don't pay for them. They're on Peacock as part of your subscription.
Well, I call them pay-per-views anyway. Everyone calls them pay-per-views still, right? I've never actually paid per view to watch any pay-per-view, but I still call it pay-per-view. I don't know. But anyways, I'm kind of like, Yeah, so that's kind of my cheat answer. I want to try out one of the modern WWE games because I heard the latest one was actually pretty decent, and I think WWE's taken a more of an interest in the quality of those kind of products because they've been criticized for being shit in the past. So that's my cheat answer. I don't know if you have like a better answer
I
for
don't
him
really
about.
have any specific genre in my head because I think I've played most of them. Shooters, even like roguelikes. I've played some of them. Maybe okay, here's one. Maybe I'd be curious about it, but I don't know if I'd ever step in is maybe like deck builders. Something like Slay the Spire. Like
Oh, I
those
love
style
Science
of
Spy. It's
games.
pretty good.
I've been,
Like,
a Balatro.
yeah,
Like my buddies are all like Balatro, and I'm just like, eh. So it's like I am aware of it, and I am like curious about it, but I've never really played. So
yeah.
maybe I'll just go with that one, like card deck builders or whatever. What genre would you even classify those as?
I just roguelike deck builders, I
Yeah,
suppose. I have played roguelikes, and roguelikes is a genre that I wish I could get into, but just can't. Like I just repeating the same thing over and over again. Just it just starts to grate on me over time. But that's just me.
Tom Leg says, "What's the best non-first party game that you played from Game Pass this year? Doesn't have to be a new release, just out of everything on Game Pass. What's the best non-first party game? Well, I mean, the one I remember I most recently played was Still Wakes the Deep, and I quite enjoyed that, and that was on Game Pass. I'd have to look at the games I've played, but the one that I remember most vividly is right now Still Wakes the Deep. So I'm not saying that's the best, but currently, like
Is
that
that a
I can.
walking simulator again?
Yes,
Oh, is it a coward simulator where
yes,
you run? Yeah, I hate those.
I know you do.
Give me a gun,
Give you a
bro.
gun. What
Yeah,
about you,
don't make a
Jez?
horror game and not give me a gun.
What
What was
about
your
you?
question?
Your favorite non-first party Game Pass game this year?
Ooh, that's
Doesn't
tough.
have to be
That's
new
really tough.
release.
That's tough. That's tough. Let me just have a quick look because I have really bad memory off the top of my head and I can't remember what I've really played. Doesn't have to be a new release, just something I've played this year.
Just something that you
Mm,
played this year. Yeah.
I've played quite a lot of Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun this year.
Mm.
I'm a rogue ally. Um, Also Mana Lords. I played that a fair bit. That came to Game Pass, although I did play it on Steam, so kind of doesn't count, but kind of counts because it is on Steam. Um, I just kind of wish Mana Lords had more content because it's a great concept. Do you know about Mana Lords much, man?
Yes. Yes, I know about Manor Lords.
Mana's like you build mana and defend it and stuff like that, but there's just not a lot of ongoing content for it, I suppose. Um, So I suppose those would be mine. But also Power World. I played quite a lot of Power World. But
Mm.
also played a load of Fallout 76, which is also on Game Pass. Man, I suppose I have played quite a lot of stuff on Game Pass recently. I just don't realize it because I've started taking that shit for granted so much.
There you go. See? Sick and Tired says, I hope you hairy men have been good. Well, another week, another Xbox black eye. As a loyal Xbox gamer, I'm starting to get the hint that Microsoft doesn't want the console as its centerpiece any longer. No mid-gen upgrade, the death of console Game Pass, multiplayer strategy, and so on. It's like a slow-motion car crash. Anyways, Microsoft doesn't care what we say, so my only questions are these. Rand, are you getting the new Raymond E. Feist book, A Darkness Returns? And Jez, I would love to know how people like you in the media manage to curate sources. Do you just message everyone on LinkedIn that works at a studio, or is it a little bit more cloak and dagger?
I think I would actually love to know myself. Like to be honest, like when it comes to like doing reports on stuff like layoffs and stuff, do journalists just message everyone on LinkedIn and hope for the best? Because I don't really do that kind of journalism. Like a lot of times, like I've just had people just from covering Xbox and writing opinions about it. I've just had a lot of people at Xbox and Microsoft reach out because they've want to help me over the years. Like in my early days, I put out like opinion pieces like which was sort of my perception of things as someone who didn't really understand the industry. And then I just had people reaching out from Microsoft, like, "Hey, I really like you take on this, but you should know XYZ about why we do XYZ and ABC and stuff like that." And I've just kind of fallen into having sources by just being active in the community, meeting people and stuff like that. I never cold call. I never blanket message people on LinkedIn. I never I don't really email people asking them to violate NDAs or comments and give me stories and scoops and stuff like that. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I'm sure other journalists do it, and maybe there's a specific way of doing it, and that you're supposed to do it. Maybe this is something you learn at journalism in a journalism degree or whatever. But I've never done it that way. I've just been active in the community, met people and stuff like that. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a similar deal for you, right?
I don't
Ryan?
know. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have
Yeah,
any sources.
yeah. Of course, bro.
I don't have any sources. But as for Raymond E.
Hmm.
Feist's new book, A Darkness Returns, the problem with that is I'm so behind on that series. I didn't finish off. There's like 30 books in the main series, and I know this one is like part of the new series and coming back to the old series, and I need to know everything. So no, I'm not, and that kind of bothers me a little. But I would have to read like 30 books to catch up in that series, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to do that. Maybe some point in the future I'll be able to, but I got so much reading right now on my plate. I just finished Ghost Story, with his Dresden Files book 13, which I thought was pretty good. And now I need to decide which of the book I start next. So I need to think about what I want to read next. Omen, with the rumors of hybrid Xbox handheld consoles, do you think Xbox Game Pass Core will still exist when that console releases? If Microsoft allows third-party stores like Steam and Epic, surely they wouldn't lock online play behind them, would they? That's an interesting dilemma. We've talked about that before. About it, like, wouldn't it be weird if you had a device where you had the Xbox Store and like Steam, and there was similar games, but you had to pay for Xbox Live Gold to play online on the one, but not through Steam on the same device. And I know it's like, well, PC, but this is a specific console, you know?
I'm gonna put out a prediction right
Okay.
now.
You normally don't. You normally don't do predictions. This is strange.
Yeah, it's strange, huh?
Is this a predictions with quotes at the end of it?
Yeah. No. This is a prediction. I mean,
Okay.
just speaking analytically, if they do put Epic Games and Steam on the next Xbox, if the next Xbox is more PC-like in its configuration, I don't think Xbox Live Gold will be a factor in that. I don't think they'll force you to pay for Xbox Live Gold to play your Steam games and stuff like that. Now, will they force you to play your Xbox games? It kind of becomes it becomes a problem, right? When it's like, well, I could buy it on Steam and not have a paywall, or I could buy an Xbox and have a paywall. Kind of doesn't make sense, right? So for me, it's kind of like, well, I don't think they'll do either, or at least I'm pretty sure Microsoft themselves is kind of like, we can't do it this way. If we're gonna do this, we have to get rid of the paywall and explore how we can make that work in the current business model that we've got. That's my take on it. So I will predict if they do that, then there'll be some kind of, you won't have to pay for Xbox Live Gold for the Steam games at the very least. Maybe not the Xbox games either.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, really Game Pass should just have two tiers, standard and ultimate. They should really just drop core. And like core and standard are synonyms to one another. They're basically the same thing. Core, standard, right?
Yeah, it just feels like they've got this business model that they want to promote, but it's kind of hamstrung by the way Xbox is, which is, the Xbox Live Gold income is factored into that cost analysis. So I think they do see a future where it isn't there. And Phil said that as much in interviews, so it's not exactly a hot take there. But we'll see what happens,
Yeah. Sean Kramer says, I want to settle the trending gamer tag that we put on Rand. In reality, Jez is the trending gamer. Hear me out. When the Fallout TV show came out, Jez started streaming 76 with cowboy hats on. Before Diablo 4 dropped, he was playing the OG Diablo. Before Elden Ring dropped, he was playing Dark Souls. Now that Shadow is out. He's all over playing Elden Ring again. The only gamer following trends is Jez. You're welcome, Rand.
Oh shit!
On the real, I love your passion for the gaming world. It's why we as an audience connect with you so much. Keep it up. Dude, he just nailed you, bro.
Oh, no.
You're the trending gamer.
No. He called me out.
You're the trend. I am playing Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk ain't trending no more.
That's true.
You. No wonder you tried to put this on me, because realistically, you knew it was all about you. It's like those politicians.
Yeah, projecting.
They're projecting. You're projecting.
Oh no.
Jez Corden, the trending gamer.
It's true, man. It's true. That's true, man. I'm just trending. I'm trending. What game's trending right now? I was looking at the Steam charts earlier, and to literally see what was trending, and the top trending game right now is a game called Once Human, which it looks like another survival game. I haven't touched that at all.
PC and survival games.
Another trending game is Age of Mythology's closed beta.
Yeah,
that's trending.
Yeah.
Nier Automata's trending for some reason.
Interesting.
Did a new series of the anime come out?
I don't think so.
But Rand, one of the biggest games that I don't think we've ever talked about on the show before is a game called Banana. Have you heard of this game?
Banana? No.
It's called Banana. Yeah. Have you heard of Banana?
I have not. No.
There's 362,000 people playing it right now as we speak, and it's had a 24-hour peak of 400,000 players. So I believe what you do in Banana is basically trade JPEGs. I think that's all you do in the game. Is that right? There's people in chat, and like even the logo is just like the word banana in like a terrible JPEG. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know, but it seems like some kind of picture, weird trading game. I don't know. But yeah, I'm a trending gamer. I admit it.
You are. CJ says, "Happy Friday, gents. It's always a good week when Rand makes a video." Question for Jez. I know you don't like football, but Jez, is it coming home? Have a wonderful weekend, guys. What is this? What does it mean? Is it coming home?
Well, you might see on Twitter, if you use Twitter much, you might see a lot of British people saying it's coming home. It's kind of like a meme where it's from a football song, because England's in the final of the European Championship against other European countries tomorrow. So they've got the second time they've been in the final, I believe. Was it the World Cup final they were in last time? The Southgates took them to the final again. So yeah, they might win the European Championship, and I don't know when it's been a long time since they've won one, if ever. So yeah, I don't know if it's coming home. I will be watching it though, because my family are gonna watch it, and we can all suffer together while England probably goes out on penalties again.
Hey, I don't know if you saw this, but breaking news: somebody shot at Trump in one of his rallies.
What?
Yeah.
Shot at him or shot him?
Breaking news: Donald Trump shot at Pennsylvania rally.
Shot?
Yeah, like with a gun.
Holy shit! No, what?
I mean, he's not. He's. I don't know.
Is that real?
I mean, it looks like it. Yeah, shot in the neck, but he's up and signaling to the crowd he's okay. He's got blood on him or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my god. That is wild, man.
I just opened up Twitter and it's all I'm seeing right now. So, anyways,
that is absolutely crazy.
Moving on from that, let's say Silas, good day, gents. If a corporation decided to throw its hat into the video game world and launch a new console, who would have the best shot at succeeding? Apple, Tencent, Samsung, or someone I haven't thought of? Probably Apple. I would say, right?
I think Tencent. And Tencent's in China. They pretty much got manufacturing in their back door. They've got the games. They understand what people get addicted to. I think if anyone would have a shot, it'd probably be Tencent, not Apple. I don't think Apple has a clue about gaming. I don't think they have a single gaming gene in their DNA. I think Apple just sucks. I don't think Apple can do anything. They're the worst company, bro.
Yeah. Let me see what else we got here. Yeah, I think it would be Apple, personally. Aboris26 says, hello, gents. Do either of you have any insight into if Game Pass Family Plan is still coming, or has Xbox abandoned it because their partners weren't comfortable with the price point? We sort of talked about that earlier. I don't think it's completely dead, so we'll see. Also, I'm surprised Xbox didn't introduce a new tier above Ultimate that includes the deluxe editions of their games, including all DLC, subscriptions to WoW, ESO, etc., and maybe EA Play Day 1 and Ubisoft Plus. Thanks for your analysis and insights. Yeah, I've seen people ask for this where it's like, why don't they have like a $25 or $30 tier which includes all DLC and subscriptions and stuff like that? But I don't know. I don't know if that would work very well, personally. You know?
Yeah, I mean, if you're like a World of Warcraft player, you're probably like, all I'm going to play is World of Warcraft. I don't care about variety. But, I mean...
Like, even currently, like, EA Play Day 1's not on Xbox.
Yeah.
And so, that's not even there at all. Ubisoft Plus is there on Xbox, but not part of a subscription. Maybe if they added Ubisoft Plus to Ultimate, you could be like, well, we're adding it to Ultimate, but because of it, we got to raise our price to $25 or something, and maybe people will be like, okay, well, that's worth it. But I just don't see a scenario where they make a... Because just by the naming, Ultimate sounds like the highest tier, doesn't it? So then what's your tier beyond? Ultimate Plus? Or, you know, Ultimate. Extreme Ultimate? Where it's like, no, this is everything, but then you get all the DLC and subscriptions and stuff. I just don't really see that being a thing. I'm not saying it couldn't work, but I just don't see it. And maybe it's because a lot of people don't buy DLC, and they'd rather have those subscriptions within those games themselves than tied up the Game Pass. I don't know. Maybe at that point, when you look at it, like $30 a month is maybe too expensive and would put people off. So, Not Skywalker says, are there any indications y'all know of within Team Xbox of a desire to bring Black Ops 1 through 4 and Cold War to Game Pass before Black Ops 6 launches? I'd personally love to replay the series, minus the fourth one, which has no campaign, ahead of the new game. And it seems like a free PR win that you think they'd want. Cheers.
I think they're going to drip feed them. I don't think they want to cannibalize what's already in Game Pass by dumping a ton of Call of Duty there all at once. I think what they'll probably do is they'll probably do like one Call of Duty like maybe every couple of months or something like that. Something like that. I don't know. But we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I mean, you're only a couple months away from the new game. We're in July. If Modern Warfare gets added at the end of the month, I just don't see... Then you got August and September, and then you're basically at the new one. I just can't see them dropping all those games just so people can catch up on the campaign.
Yeah.
Personally. So, no, I don't think that'll happen. Governor Grimm, he says, hey boys, I'm sure you will already have covered this before you get to the Patreon questions, but in case this slipped your gaze, do you think the 6 to 12 month delay in the Xbox first-party games landing on Game Pass Standard will coincide with first-party games going to other platforms? That is my guess. They will launch on Game Pass Standard the same time they launch on the PS5 and Switch 2, because they already made whatever money they were going to make. Yeah, we didn't really mention that. But supposedly with Standard, like, for example, Avowed comes out in November this year. If you're on Standard, it would either come to Standard, 6 to 12 months after it releases, so sometime between June of 2025 and November of 2025. But I personally don't think there's anything to do with them launching on other platforms. I just think that's probably a good... it's probably a good enough incentive for them to think of... It's probably more like, how do we get more people to subscribe to Ultimate? Rather than, oh, this is going to coincide with us releasing our games on other platforms. So the 6 to 12 month thing is more like, hey, wouldn't you rather play this sooner rather than later? Like FOMO, subscribe to Ultimate. That's what I think. Jez, do you think it has anything to do with coinciding with launching on other platforms?
Can you repeat the gist of the question? I was getting spammed just then.
Do you think the 6 to 12 month delay for Xbox Game Pass Standard will coincide with the first party games going to other platforms, and that's why it's set up that way? And I said no. I think it's more about FOMO and about like giving people more of a reason to jump to Ultimate.
Yeah, it's all about Ultimate. They want people on Ultimate. Ultimate's the one that makes the most sense, that gives them the most value and gives players the most value too. So I think it is about like shifting people away from that tier potentially. But also like there's probably is an aspect of reassuring developers that, you know, they want to make sure that they're not completely discouraging retail sales, because some devs have criticized them for that shit. I don't know.
We have, let's see here, we have achievement. Do you think Sony will allow their games like MLB and Destiny to be allowed on Xbox's cloud ownership streaming initiative? Or can you see Sony trying to block other publishers from joining the program? Is MLB on cloud streaming, Jez? I think it is, isn't it?
I guess so.
I guess achievement is more looking at like the ability to stream your own games. But I don't think that's a Sony decision with MLB, because I think the MLB themselves publish it. It's why it's on Game Pass to begin with. Destiny, I think, would be more of a Bungie decision than a Sony decision. I can't see Sony trying to block other publishers from joining the program. Other publishers are going to have their own ideas of what they feel is good for their games or what they feel is best for their business. I don't think it have anything to do with Sony whispering to them, "Oh, don't let Xbox have your cloud gaming rights" or something.
The whole cloud gaming rights thing, like with Ubisoft and stuff, is so annoying.
Yeah.
But I might write to the CMA and ask them if they're happy with the effect here, because it's screwing consumers over at the end of the day.
Good old Conway says, "Good weekend, Rand and Jez. Jez, why are game journalists such as Tom Warren and Stephen Totilo creating material that's only consumable behind a paid subscription model? Arguably, it could be said that you do it as well, making Xbox 2 Ultimate only listenable via Patreon. But it looks like Warren and Totilo are being sponsored by the employers. Will Jez go behind a paywall?"
We have talked about doing paywalls. It's because everyone uses ad blockers, man. And we have to keep the lights on. And the problem is, like, as more people uses ad blockers, then the company puts more ads in, which makes it even more annoying to use the site without an ad blocker. So it's like, it sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that people use ad blockers because the ads just get so annoying. I wish, like, we could offer some kind of subscription which, you know, let people disable the ads if they don't want them. But we can actually keep the lights on. Because at the end of the day, everything's about money. Windows Central's, you know, the budgets are stretched, and I'd love to be able to grow the team and pay people more and compete with IGN and GameSpot and stuff like that, but there's just no money to do so, you know. So how do you make money? You stick things behind a paywall, and some people will pay for it, evidently. Otherwise, people wouldn't do it. So it's ad blockers, man, and you'll see more and more companies do this, because ad blockers have now started blocking affiliate links as well, which, you know, was a way that we could make money even while people had ad blockers active. But ad blockers they're just trying to put publishers out of business at the end of the day. So you're going to see more of this, I think. Xbox, when it comes to Xbox 2 Ultimate, generally speaking, I don't think me and Rand, we give, you know, Xbox 2 Ultimate's more like a community show. And I think we said from the outset that we wouldn't like put any leaks or exclusive information necessarily in the paywall. I'm sure, like, we talk about stuff that we might not talk about publicly just because, you know, it get misconstrued or, you know, fuddied out there if it was going out to a wide audience. But I don't think we tried to maintain a model with the Patreon where it's like You subscribe to it if you want to, and you can afford it. And you know, it's not something we're gonna ever try and force people to do. But like when it comes to Windows Central, I think future, you know, my parent company may well look to do things behind a paywall in the future. So, just is what it is, man.
Yeah. Randy Dickens II. With concerns over game preservation, it would be great to see Xbox and PlayStation emulate Voodoo. They have a disc-to-digital program that's pretty good. $5 and a barcode scan gets you digital rights to a movie. Would something like this work for games? Rand, I just finished Project Hail Mary on your recommendation. Amaze, amaze, amaze. If you have read the books, you will get the reference. Yeah, the book is great. I don't know. Would that work for gaming, Jez? If you had the barcode and scanned it, and for $5 you were able to get it, like get ownership of a digital version of it.
I honestly don't know.
I don't know.
Idea.
I don't know if the
I
game.
don't think so.
Here's the thing. I don't know if the game companies are that too concerned about game preservation. Microsoft might be, but I'm not really sure. Companies like EA and they probably like who cares if they can't play our older games? We don't even want them to play our older games. We want them to play FIFA and spend their money on Ultimate Team. You know, I'm not really.
Publishers don't care about game preservation. Like the only reason Microsoft does a little bit is because, you know, you've got someone running the show that actually cares about it. You know, on a personal level. That's the only reason Xbox has anything to do with game preservation. But yeah.
Dakari says, "Hey gents, I might be the only person here older than Rand. I had a chance to play Hypercharged Unboxed, the new Toy Soldiers game, with my sons and had an absolute blast. It had me wondering if there are other smaller indie games I've missed out there that are family-friendly couch co-op games you guys would recommend. Appreciate you guys."
This is tough because I don't really know any children. So
and my nephews all play Roblox, so
yeah. We've got best Xbox games for kids up on Windows Central if you search for it. Also, Gembox 360 might know some. She's got a young lad on Twitter, so reach out to her. But I ain't got a clue. I'll be straight up and honest. Not a damn clue.
Yeah, I don't really know either. Because that's not even a type of a genre I even consider playing. So
yeah.
Let's see here. SJ Dub says, "Good day, Jez and Rand. I hope you're both doing well. Have you guys heard the latest rumors of Helldivers 2 coming to Xbox within the next month or so? Supposedly people like Paris, Mr. Boomstick, and others have started hearing that it might become an Xbox and also Game Pass soon. It seems too good to be true, but I would definitely buy it again on Xbox. P.S. In Cyberpunk, female V is the best V." I agree with that. Helldivers 2 rumors.
If it seems too good to be true, it often is. So I would not expect Helldivers on Xbox based on the current rumor mill. I'd love for it to be true, I really would, but I just don't see Sony doing that. I think like their optics are all about everything is PlayStation, blah 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 blah, and I think they acknowledge that Xbox is harming itself and its brand with the core and the zeitgeist by doing the multi-plat thing. And if Sony like makes a move now on it, they kind of lose that argument against Xbox where it's like, oh well, Xbox games are coming to PlayStation now. Then, you know, both sides are doing the multi-plat thing. So I don't think Sony will do it. It's too much of a strategic benefit for them to capitulate there. Personally, I think, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's how do I say this? It's one of these things where I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. I don't know how to present this whole thing without saying too much. You know what I mean?
Maybe around knows something we don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think people want Helldivers to come to Xbox. They feel it would be a good fit, and then they could sort of like give it back to PlayStation fans about, oh, one of your games is back there. And I think a lot of it has to do with, like, yeah, maybe we'll talk about this some other time. I don't know. I can't think of a way to say this without saying what's. Yeah, I'm just gonna. No comment from me.
Interesting.
No comment from me on this.
Intriguing. Maybe Rand knows something.
No,
No.
not at all. Lee Sanders says, I will say I don't think Helldivers is coming to Xbox, at least not soon. I mean, maybe it comes a year after the launch of Helldivers, like maybe it comes February of 2025, but it coming like later this month or next month, I don't think that's happening. I think it's people that saw something and thought it meant Helldivers 2, but it doesn't, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
Lee Sanders says, what's the one film series you love but everyone else hates? Film series you love but everybody else hates.
Film series. I mean, this is kind of cheating again. A lot of people say, like, only the first two Alien movies are good. I love all the Alien movies. All of them. So.
I actually like Alien 1, 2, and 3. And Resurrection. I don't like Alien versus Predator. But, I mean, people love Alien. I mean, people love Alien and Aliens, Jez. You know, like. I can't think of a film series that I love that everybody else hates, though, right now. I really can't think of any. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I'd have to. I don't know. I'm completely speechless on this one. Dave Ramos says, happy weekend, gents. Do you think Xbox is done changing the Game Pass tiers? If they're not done and more changes are eventually coming, what do the tiers look like by November of 2026 when the next consoles are coming out? What are the names and features of the tiers? Well, I agree with Jez. I think there's a cloud-only game that will eventually come. And I think they could get rid of Game Pass Core, where then, you know, at the start of next gen, it could just be standard and ultimate, obviously with PC on its own thing, and maybe a cloud gaming tier for people that only want to play cloud gaming. And maybe that's just what they go with. Yeah, that would be my guess. So you're getting an addition of a cloud gaming tier and the removal of the Game Pass Core tier.
I agree.
Yeah. Let me just refresh this to see if there's anything else. See if anybody got a question in at the end. Nope, that's it. We do have we have the Andrew with the 199. Jez, go to All In at Wembley. The card looks amazing so far. That's for AEW, Jez. You can go to that event. Or you can go to WWE has an event in August. Bash at Berlin, you know? You could go to that one.
I could do.
You could. JD Gamer at the 5 says, if you could add any gameplay mechanic or genre to a game that would be spun off from the Halo universe, what would it be? If you could add any gameplay mechanic or genre to a game that would be spun off. I mean, I want a horror Halo game. You know, where maybe you're a lowly ODST, not even ODST, but maybe a UNSC soldier, and you're trying to get out of a flood-infested city leading survivors, and you don't really have the powers of a Master Chief, so it's really tense. It's really horror-based, survival-based in the ways that the Resident Evil game is. Dude, I would love that. Wouldn't you, Jez?
I would.
You would?
I'm really curious. I'm curious what they do with Resident Evil. All the teases about Resident Evil 9 and shit.
Yeah. iSilar $4.99. Thoughts on the reward issues for both consoles? PSN is only now coming back after a month. Yeah, the PSN stars was down for a month, which is not good.
For a month? I didn't know that.
I think it was down for a month. So,
Imagine if something from Xbox was down for a month.
Yeah.
Everyone would be like, "Oh my god, Xbox is shutting it down. Xbox is doomed." Blah 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 blah.
I don't know. I mean, they have been changing like reward stuff, so
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's everything we wanted to talk about.
Rock and roll.
Yeah. What do you have planned for this upcoming week? More Elden Ring? Any articles people should be on the lookout for?
I don't know, man. I got nothing particularly exciting cooking at the moment. I'm doing a bunch of accessory reviews at the moment, but I don't know. It's wild stuff out there. Apparently, Trump wasn't shot. Someone threw a rock at him, and then the Secret Service shot the shooter.
Oh yeah.
So apparently, that's what's going on. But it sort of looked like it was the shot or something. I don't know. Might be a while before we know exactly what happened. But weird shit for that to happen in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But anyways, guys,
What's
thank you.
going on over there, bro?
Not that's you. What do you mean? I don't know. I hear sirens over there by you. But
True that.
thank you so much for tuning in on Saturday. We'll be back on Friday, right, Jez? Friday next week, not Saturday.
Yeah, we'll definitely Friday.
Friday.
Next week, definitely.
Thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring the show. You can always use code XB2.
XB2.
Get 20% off, all that good stuff. Thank you
They
to all
got
the
some new
patrons.
stuff in. Yeah, the Manscaped has some new stuff in lately that's really, really good. So be sure to at least check it out. A lot of good stuff at Manscaped.
Yeah. Heads up, patrons. We should be doing something on Tuesday with the Xbox 2+1 guest, hopefully. So keep your, ear to the ground for that. And hope everybody enjoys the rest of the weekend. Shout out to everybody listening to this later on YouTube and iTunes and Spotify. We love you all. Enjoy yourselves and keep it gaming. Later, everyone.
Rock and roll.